Harry Potter, the older generation. Chapter 1. Oh no, it's really bad. Sylvia kicked the stone under her feet. From the moment she opened her eyes 10 years ago and saw not the familiar room but instead a young couple happily hugging her and a little boy dancing beside them, she knew that she had said goodbye to her previous world. Especially when she saw them conjuring fireworks with a small wooden stick, she finally understood what world she had come to. While she was still wondering what timeline she had come to and whether she would have the honor of being a classmate of the savior Harry Potter, she heard the beautiful lady say that Mrs. Potter from the next hill would bring James over to play today. Okay, now it's confirmed, now it's the parent generation, but it's the toddler version. But Sylvia still had to say, oh my god, this is the family. The family that only lives in memory. Although I have always wanted to be a classmate of Harry Potter, no one can resist the pro-generation. It's the generation that includes the Marauders, Lily, Regulus, and Professor Snape from their school days, Merlin. Hey, Sylvia, you're here. Oh, Ender. Seeing that Sylvia was still staring at the tip of her shoes, Andric, who had just come back from outside excitedly, didn't care what she was thinking or whether she was willing to listen to him. He just rushed in front of her and said to himself, yes, Diagon Alley. Mom and Dad are going to Diagon Alley today. James and I just overheard it at their house. Perhaps because he had just run, he spoke incoherently. Of course, Sylvia had no intention of listening to him quietly. Ender, it's Diagon Alley, not right, Diagon Alley. Sylvia complained. She would not miss any opportunity to laugh at her brother, just like Ender would not miss the opportunity to laugh at her, eavesdropping again? But why did you hear it at James's house? Hey, can you please listen to me? Andric raised his hands in surrender. He ignored his sister's ridicule because he knew that once they started bickering, they would have endless things to say. We didn't hear the details clearly, but it should be about buying some things. But we came to tell you as soon as we heard that. At the end, Andric did not forget to say some good things about himself in front of Sylvia, but unfortunately Sylvia did not buy it. Oh, thank you so much. My dear brother can still remember his sister who is alone at home. Even though he always puts playing with James first every day, I still want to say, Andric, thank you for still remembering me. Andric touched his nose a little embarrassedly. Facing his sister's sarcastic tone, he couldn't help but feel guilty. He said oh. And asked directly, just tell me whether you want to go or not. Yes, of course I will. My dear brother has gone to great lengths to come all the way from the Potter Manor next door to invite me. How can I refuse? Andric raised his hands in surrender again. His look made Sylvia couldn't help laughing, and she stopped being sarcastic to him. But you have to tell me what you are doing recently. You didn't play with me these past 2 days. These days Andric always goes out early and comes back late, and Sylvia hardly ever sees him at home. Sylvia always feels abandoned and feels a little aggrieved. Andric saw the aggrieved look on Sylvia's face. He wanted to explain, but when he thought of his and James' plan, he silently apologized to Sylvia in his heart. After a while, the Hops couple came with James. After knowing that the 3 kids were going to Diagon Alley, they looked like they knew it. Knowing that their son and James were naughty, they told them, you can move freely when you get to Diagon Alley, but we can't go to Nocturne Alley. We know that, Mom. Andric quickly responded to Mrs. Hops's words. Seeing Andric's impatient face, Anna smiled and said, remember to wait for us at the ice cream shop with Sylvia. Andric nodded. He and James looked at each other and knew what the other was thinking. The plan remained unchanged. But Andric planned to complete the plan quickly and not let Sylvia be unable to find them. After explaining a few more things, Mr. and Mrs. Hops took the 3 little wizards and set off for Diagon Alley. No matter how many times she came to Diagon Alley, Sylvia could never forget the scene when she first saw it. It was a shocking scene that could not be described in words. There were all kinds of magic props and wizards waving their wands. She could see the newly enrolled little wizards gathered in front of the Quidditch boutique complaining about the school rule that first years could not bring brooms, and little wizards happily admiring their wands after coming out of Ollivanders. She stood there blankly until her father called her back by saying welcome to Diagon Alley. She remembered that Andric had the same expression as her. This place was so attractive to young wizards. She couldn't believe how she would feel when she arrived at Diagon Alley with the admission letter. Compared to the first time when he happened to come just before Hogwarts opened and was squeezed and bumped into, there were far fewer wizards on the streets this time. As soon as they entered Diagon Alley, Andric and James struggled to escape from the adults holding their hands. Seeing this, Sylvia also let go of Mrs. Hopps's hand and said, "Mom, I'm going to find Andric and James." Seeing the 3 children running away, Anna Hopps said, "Remember to wait for us at the ice cream shop." Anna and Lawrence shook their heads when they saw their little daughter, just waved and ran further away, then went to a nearby store and ignored them. As long as the children were happy, that was all that mattered. Sylvia, who was just a step slower, looked around but didn't see any familiar figures. Strange, they were clearly running here, why are they gone? She looked around again and finally confirmed that she was abandoned again by her good brother Andric and her good friend James. How abominable! Sylvia clenched her fists. Boys are really the most annoying existence. If you're looking for 2 boys, I saw them go over there. The person who was pointing the direction hadn't retracted his hand when he saw the girl opposite rushing over. You are? Oh. No, I'm SIA Hopps. The boy's short black hair was gently blown by the wind brought by the little witches running. Just by standing there, one could feel that he had received a strict etiquette education, but even so, it could not cover up the rebellious temperament emanating from his body. He raised his eyebrows slightly, and his right hand, which was originally about to be retracted and wrapped around his chest, changed its way halfway, and bent down to shake Sylvia's outstretched hand. "Nice to meet you. I am Sirius Black." Chapter 2. Sure enough, it was him. Sirius Black, who voluntarily endured the despair and pain brought by the Dementors in Azkaban, but when he saw a rat that should have been dead in the newspaper, he was worried that it would hurt Harry, so he used the little remaining time of consciousness to escape from prison and cross the sea to reach the land. Sylvia thought that she would never forget what Ron said to Harry, imagine, living on eating rats. But the most unexpected thing for Sylvia was that she would meet him here. Putting aside all the descriptions of him that flashed through her mind, Sylvia couldn't help but say, "Sirius." But she stopped immediately after she called out a name. Sylvia suddenly realized that any of her actions from just now to now could be called weird, introducing herself right away, calling out her Christian name without asking for his consent when they first met, and forgetting to let go of his hand just now. Sylvia suddenly felt embarrassed and was disheveled in the wind for a while. After a few seconds, she spoke weakly, I mean, can I call you that? Merlin's pants, what have I done?" Sirius saw that Sylvia had been pulling at the hem of her skirt after she took her hand back. He chuckled and said, "Of course." Seeing that the other party was obviously relieved after hearing these words, Sirius smiled a little more. "Sylvia? Can I call you that? Will Sylvia refuse?" "Of course not. Merlin's pants, this is Sirius Black. No one can refuse Sirius Black. Oh, by the way, Sirius, are you waiting for someone here too?" Sylvia seemed to remember that when she was looking for Andric and James, she saw someone standing here, but she didn't expect it to be an unexpected person. If she had known it was Sirius, she would not have looked for those 2 idiots. Noticing that Sylvia said also, Sirius thought that she must have come with her family or friends, so Sirius shook his head. He came out on his own because he couldn't stand the atmosphere at home, but he couldn't think of where to go, so he made up an excuse to come to Diagon Alley. He was originally wandering aimlessly, but he stopped when he noticed 2 boys who suddenly disappeared and were obviously hiding from people. His instinct told him that this would be fun, and he was right. "You came here by yourself? That's cool. Mom and Dad never let Andric and I go out by ourselves." At this point, Sylvia seemed to realize something. For example, Sirius went out by himself, most likely because of his family. If that was the case, it wouldn't be cool at all. Sylvia stopped talking and didn't continue. Even though she had learned about the Black family from books in her previous life, Sirius did not take the initiative to talk about his family and affairs. Moreover, the Black family always displayed the nobility of a pure-blood family and the etiquette ingrained in their bones. For a moment, Sylvia was reluctant to bring it up. In fact, Sirius was a little stunned when he heard what Sylvia said. "Is this cool?" He always went out by himself, and sometimes Lear would go with him. But Lear was becoming more and more like his mother's good boy. So, he didn't take him this time. He wanted to go to a different place, a place away from everything about the Black family. Looking at Sirius's gradually gloomy expression, Sylvia felt more and more sorry. She stared at Sirius and wanted to say something, but she couldn't think of any words of comfort for a moment, which made Sylvia a little annoyed. Noticing the eyes staring at him, Sirius had no idea what she was thinking, nor did he know that she actually remained silent because she happened to know something unknown. He just pretended to be indifferent and said, "Okay, I admit, this is really cool." "Merlin, what's with that expression?" Sirius was a little confused. He was clearly saying how cool he was just now, so why was he suddenly looking at him like he was a poor kid? Perhaps knowing that her expression was a little exaggerated, Sylvia laughed dryly and quickly changed the subject. "You must not have brought gold galleons with you when you went out, right? Come on, I'll treat you to ice cream." After that, without caring about Sirius's reaction, she grabbed his sleeve and walked towards the ice cream shop. "My father gave me a lot of gold galleons. He must have known that I would make new friends. Damn Andric and James, never pay any attention to them again." "Oh, Andric is my twin brother, and James is our good friend." "No, he is not my good friend anymore. I think the vanilla flavor is the best." The girl in front of him was still chattering on, but after Sirius heard the words new friend, it seemed as if he could not hear anything else. "Friends, is this how you make friends? Is making friends so simple?" Sirius was a little confused until Sylvia called him a few more times, and then he came to his senses. "What flavor of ice cream? Didn't you say that vanilla is delicious? I want this flavor." Sirius didn't have many opportunities to eat ice cream, and he didn't know what flavor was the best. He just continued to talk along with what the girl in front of him said. "Oh, wait a minute," Sylvia suddenly stopped when passing by a shop selling various small gadgets. "Sirius, can we go to the ice cream shop later? I want to go in and take a look." Sirius certainly wouldn't argue. Compared to being alone, having someone with him, no matter what they were doing, he wouldn't refuse. After noticing that Sylvia had been looking at things for boys, he couldn't help but ask, "Is it for a boy?" Sylvia nodded. "Oh, yes. I almost forgot, Andric's birthday is in a week, and I haven't decided what to get him yet." Sylvia, who was busy choosing birthday presents, did not notice that Sirius disappeared for a while after hearing what she said, and naturally did not know where he went. At this moment, Sylvia was having a dilemma between the Quidditch model and the singing dragon model in her hand. Both of them looked like something that Andric would like, but which one should she choose? This one. Just as she was struggling, a hand reached out. Sylvia looked up at the man who picked up the Quidditch model, and suddenly realized why she didn't think of asking Sirius for his opinion. But seeing that the other party took the initiative to speak, Sylvia didn't hesitate and said okay. After paying the bill with the store manager, Sylvia walked out of the store, thinking, "Ha, now nothing can disturb me from treating Sirius to ice cream." Chapter 3. Sylvia. The door of the ice cream shop was suddenly pushed open, and two boys rushed in. "Finally found you. Well." Sylvia held the ice cream in her hand and suddenly felt a sense of embarrassment when she saw the sweat on Andric and James' foreheads. "Would you like some?" She had completely forgotten about them. "Okay," she admitted that she had done it on purpose. Instead of the imagined scene of Sylvia waiting for them to come back, she was with a stranger and even exchanged ice creams. Andric's smile faded a little. "I thought you would run over to us as happily as we did when you saw us." "Hey, Andric, you don't think that after we've abandoned Sylvia for so long, she would still be happy to welcome us?" James opened his eyes wide as if Andric had met Sylvia for the first day and didn't know her temper. To James, it was good enough that Sylvia didn't turn around and leave the moment she saw them, kick each of them as she passed by, and roll her eyes at them. But Sylvia's current state was beyond his expectations. However, he and Andric were in the wrong, so he smiled apologetically at Sylvia and said, "Sorry, Sylvia, we left you here alone." A slightly sweet smell floated to his nose, and James said, "Oh, this is a vanilla ice cream, and there is also a chocolate one? Then I'll have a banana one, and we can take turns." Seeing that Sylvia had no intention of blaming them, he decisively changed the subject and immediately ran to Mr. Florin. After hearing what James said, Andric was still wondering how Sylvia could be with a stranger. Now he had nothing else to say. He showed the same apology as James and said, "Sorry, Sylvia, I promise I won't leave you here alone." He and James Sylvia always acted together, but this time it was just a small matter. After a few days, when the matter was settled, this situation would not happen again. But now thinking about it, he felt that what he did was wrong. What did he do? Leaving Sylvia alone in the busy street, he didn't dare to think about what might happen to Sylvia during this period. Never mind, Never mind. Don't think about it anymore, Andrik, he comforted himself in his heart. But still frightened by the terrible idea he had come up with, Andrik swore that such a thing would never happen again. Even if there were some little secrets that he couldn't tell Sylvia, he would never leave her alone again. Seeing that her brother was about to be drowned by the overflowing guilt, Sylvia immediately said, "Andre, don't you want ice cream? I think James is going to buy it." For Sylvia, it would be a lie if she wasn't angry. Her good friend left without saying a word, leaving her alone, but she also knew Andrik and James, and there must be a reason behind this. So forget it this time, considering that she met Sirius by accident, Sylvia decided to forgive them. If it happened again, she would make sure the Hope's family had only one daughter. Andrik, whose attention had been diverted, really didn't dwell on the matter. He glanced at Sylvia and Sirius, and it was obvious that he wanted to say something. In the end, he resisted the urge to ask questions, and ran to James' side. The two restless heads came together, mumbling about what flavor of ice cream to buy. After the two came back from shopping, James sat down and said directly, "I'm James Potter, are you Sylvia's new friend?" Andrik also turned his eyes to the boy who was slowly eating ice cream, Andrik Hops. Sirius Black. After the two of them introduced themselves, the strange boy in front of them spoke, "Sylvia and I just met." What did you call her?" "Sylvia." Andrik said in disbelief after hearing the name. He frowned and almost jumped up. "Who told you to call her Sylvia? Didn't you just meet?" Andrik seemed quite excited and his voice rose unconsciously. Sia twisted uncomfortably in her chair. She gently tugged at the corner of Andrik's clothes and explained, "It's me. I said my name was Sia Hops." Seeing that Sirius was still a little confused, Sylvia explained to him, "Let me introduce myself again, I'm Sylvia Hops." Sirius was surprised for a moment. He didn't expect that the name he had been calling for so long was the other person's nickname. The other party's rare silence made Sylvia feel a little embarrassed. She secretly regretted that she was too excited to see the young version of Sirius and directly reported everyone's nickname for her. She should have been calmer. It's just that the people around her have been very familiar to her for so many years. She was used to hearing them call Sylvia's nickname, so she didn't react for a while. Sylvia and Sirius laughed dryly at this little mistake, and the atmosphere instantly became a little awkward. Fortunately, James was an overly enthusiastic person. He pulled Sirius and Andrik aside and began to talk incessantly. Sylvia was concentrating on eating ice cream beside them and occasionally responded. The topic gradually shifted from Diagon Alley to Hogwarts to the sorting. James said loudly, "I'd go to Gryffindor. There's bravery buried deep in my heart there, just like my father." As he said this, he stood up and made a gesture of drawing a sword. Seeing this, Andrik nodded in agreement. But Sylvia didn't say anything. She didn't really care where they went. Of course, it would be best if she could be assigned to Gryffindor and go with them. But no matter where they went, she believed that she was her parents' favorite child. Sirius added, "Our whole family is Slytherin." James was surprised and said, "Oh my god, I thought you were pretty good. You should have realized it when you heard my last name was Black." Sirius didn't mind what James said. He grinned and said, "Maybe I will break tradition." Andrik said, "A Gryffindor Black? That sounds cool." This statement was agreed by several people, especially Sirius, who smiled even more deeply. A few people were chatting in the ice cream shop, waiting for their adults to pick them up. "Are you coming to Potter Manor to play?" James asked finally. He didn't know why he invited someone he had known for less than half a day. He just thought of it and asked naturally. In fact, he likes Sirius very much, he feels like another good brother to him. Of course there is another one, Andrik. As for Sylvia, James said with his rare emotional intelligence that Sylvia is a girl and cannot be called a good brother, but she is also his best friend. Upon hearing this, Sylvia sighed silently. As expected, James and Sirius seemed to be a perfect match. No matter when they met, they will be as close as brothers. Chapter 4. Dear Sirius. It's Andrik's and my birthday in 3 days. I hope you can come to our house and spend it with us. P.S. Andrik also wrote you a letter, but, would you please accept my invitation? Your friend, Sia. After writing the letter, Sylvia carefully tied it to Hess's leg. Hess was the owl her parents gave her. Hess lowered her head and ate the cookies prepared by her owner. After hearing Sylvia's words, she flapped her wings and flew out. Now it has been a week since they met in Diagon Alley, and during this time, Sylvia and Sirius have been writing letters to each other. Sylvia will tell Sirius as soon as she encounters something happy, and when Sirius writes back, Sylvia has encountered other interesting things. There is always a time difference between them, which makes Sylvia a little distressed. Sirius must have sent the letter as soon as he received it, as you can tell by the half-dried ink on it. It would be nice to have something to chat with, Sylvia thought as she watched Hess leave. Time quickly came to the next day. Sylvia had been waiting for the owl to bring the reply she had been longing for, but a long time passed and there was no movement. Sylvia suddenly sat up straight and slapped her head. How could she have forgotten this? She remembered that Sirius had written at the end of the last letter, "I was almost discovered by Walburga. Creaker has been keeping an eye on my room recently. Rael, my brother Regulus, he should know that I was writing letters and has been helping me to lure Creaker away, but he doesn't know who I was writing to. Merlin, how come he looks like a spy on an undercover mission?" This was Sylvia's first reaction when she saw the letter. Andric seemed much more excited. He kept saying it was so cool and even wanted to work with James to rescue the princess trapped in Grimmauld Place. Sylvia. Mrs. Hobbs came over at this time and interrupted Sylvia, who was sitting cross-legged on the sofa. Mrs. Hobbs is a beautiful and generous witch. Before she married Mr. Hobbs, she came from the purest family, a family whose surname alone represents purity. Unlike the purity of the Black family, they do not object to marrying non-pure blood wizards, but the family is still sparse. In Mrs. Hobbs' generation, she is the only child. They have always been low-key and neutral and never participated in the activities of pure-blood families, but they would send them invitations to every pure-blood family gathering, but they were all rejected. Despite this, there was still a steady stream of letters, as if inviting the priest family could demonstrate their status as a pure-blood family, meaning that they could maintain a close relationship with a low-key family. "Mom!" Sylvia jumped off the sofa and shouted. "What are you thinking about?" Anna hugged her daughter, who ran to her arms. She couldn't help but raised her hand to touch Sylvia's head. Suddenly, she had some bad thoughts. She said, "Andre told me that Sirius would definitely accept his invitation." Sure enough, Sylvia's attention was attracted. She stopped rubbing in her mother's arms and looked up. She found that her mother's expression did not seem to be deceiving. She immediately became alert and broke away from Anna's arms and ran to the room, saying, "Damn it, it was obviously me who knew Sirius first." Sylvia decided that she would write another letter and have Archie, Andric's owl, deliver it. Ha, now Andric has no owl to deliver letters to. See how he invites Sirius. Ever since that day when James pestered Sirius for his address so that they could keep in touch, Andric and Sirius suddenly became like brothers for some reason, and James was jealous of this for a long time. Sometimes he said that Andric had forgotten about him because he had a new brother, and sometimes he said that Sirius was the happiest person chatting with him at the beginning, but now he communicates with Andric all day long. And these are obviously what Sylvia wants to say the most. Merlin, don't think she doesn't know. At the beginning, Andric was also secretly angry with James and Sirius, but now the three of them are as close as a pair of pants. Andric even wanted to invite Sirius first. It's too much. Isn't it fun to see Sylvia and Andric quarreling? Lawrence had been watching from the side since his wife called Sylvia. At first he was a little confused. Was he not paying enough attention to Andric recently? How come he didn't know Andric was going to invite his friends first? After Sylvia left, Lawrence noticed the smile in his wife's eyes. He immediately knew that it was just a little joke to amuse the child. Anna was about to refute Lawrence when she was interrupted by a loud quarrel coming from upstairs. What? Sirius promised you? Why hasn't he replied to my letter yet? Andric's voice penetrated the whole house. Lolyalu. Sylvia made a face. She said that her previous plan had not been implemented yet, but she saw Sirius's owl flying over. She opened the envelope and saw the first sentence was that Sirius accepted her invitation. The quarrel continued upstairs, but Lawrence and Anna laughed. Isn't this very interesting? Now Anna could finally answer Lawrence's question. Lawrence didn't say anything after hearing this, but Anna knew that her husband liked to watch these little excitements just like her, and even often made the scene more chaotic. For example, he went upstairs with bad intentions just now. How could he become a father when he was a naughty boy in school? It's a pity that outsiders will never see the other side of Mr. Hobbs, who is reliable, gentle, and calm. For example, he is good at adding fuel to the fire when the children quarrel. Hearing the noises upstairs getting louder and louder, Anna felt that she couldn't let them continue arguing. She came to the second-floor corridor, where Sylvia and Andrei were arguing fiercely. But children are children, and they kept saying things like she's my best friend and she's not yours, she's mine. Andrei, Sylvia. As soon as Anna's voice came out, the two children suddenly quieted down. This only meant that they would stop verbally attacking each other, but their eye contact was still intense. Anna saw the war between the two children. If they continued to quarrel, it might affect their relationship. Anna came up with an idea. Do you want to make the cake yourself this time? Andrik and Sylvia's eyes suddenly lit up, and they went from staring at each other to looking at each other in surprise. At that moment, Sylvia thought a lot. She thought that it would be better to ask Andrik to help her than to make the cake by herself. This suggestion was really tempting. Although she would not be rejected if she asked her parents for help, Andrik was stupid and would only make her parents busier. It would be better to let Andrik help her to save her parents from being even busier. Andrik was also thinking carefully, should he do it alone or with Sylvia? Although his mother did not specify whether it was one person or two people, as a brother, he should still take care of his sister. After all, Sylvia looked clumsy. For a moment, the brother and sister's thoughts strangely overlapped. Perhaps it was the tacit understanding of twins. They said at the same time, I want to be with Andrik/Sylvia. As expected, Sylvia still thinks about me. Hearing Sylvia's words, Andrik was a little moved. So why should I quarrel with Sylvia? No matter who invites Sirius, he will come to play at home. After figuring it out, Andrik felt a little strange. He didn't want to quarrel, but was just a little surprised. Why did they start quarreling after his father came? Sure enough, his father didn't know how to comfort people. He was the only reliable boy in the family. After the quarrel, Sylvia returned to the room and carefully read Sirius's reply. It was no different from the previous ones. His uncle Alfard secretly gave him a small muggle toy when he visited their house. He thought it was very interesting, but his family didn't like muggle things, so he had to hide it and play with it secretly when no one was around. At the end of the letter, Sirius added, "Can I come with Regulus?" Sylvia has always been curious about Regulus, not only because Sirius described him in the letter as mother's good boy and very clingy when he was a child, but more because he was the unsung hero and silent warrior in the original work. But she thought she could tell that the current Regulus was not actually the same person in the book. She has been doing well in this regard, since she came here, met James and Sirius, and soon met Regulus. She knew that she was far away from the main timeline, but this also gave her room to play, and she could do a lot. At least the friendship she had with James since childhood told her that she didn't want James to be hit by the killing curse and die at such a young age. Maybe this time Harry can grow up in the love of his parents, Godfather, and Remus. Chapter 5. After 2 days of emergency training, Sylvia and Andrei were finally able to make a normal cake without their mother's help. When the cake was formed, they both cheered loudly and discussed fiercely what flavor of cake they wanted. Looking at the smiles of the two children, Lawrence couldn't help but raise the corners of his lips. He joked to his wife, "Don't worry about it now. Why should I worry about anything? You, as a good father, should be worried, right? Aren't you afraid that your beloved son and daughter will be sad?" Anna smiled and patted Lawrence's arm. Lawrence couldn't convince his wife. As she said, she really didn't want to make the children sad, but Anna wasn't much better than him. He knew that his wife secretly made a cake in the middle of the night while everyone was asleep. But he didn't intend to tell her because he also had a backup plan behind his wife's back. But now it seems that the backup plan is useless. Soon the time came to the next day. Looking at the decorated living room, Sylvia clapped her hands with satisfaction. She had already started all the things that were going to happen that day. She looked around but didn't see Andrik, thinking he had gone to Potter Manor to find James. As for why she didn't go to pick up Sirius and Regulus, it was because Sylvia had already seen Sirius. He was standing outside the yard, smiling and waving at her. She heard Sirius teasing, "Aren't you going to invite me in?" Sylvia ran to the gate. She looked at Sirius in surprise and said excitedly, "Sirius! Great, you're the first one to come." After she finished speaking she noticed that there was a slightly shorter boy next to Sirius. She continued, "I'm glad you can come, Regulus. I'm Sylvia Hops, you can call me Shia." She didn't wonder why Sylvia knew her name. She thought Sirius must have told her in the letter. However, as a member of the Black family, she still had to follow the proper etiquette. "Forgive me for asking my brother to write for me, but I am honored that you agreed to let me come. I am Regulus Black." "Oh, come on, it's Andric and I's fault. We forgot to write another formal invitation letter." Sirius kept his arms crossed over his chest. When the two started talking, he shifted his gaze to the ground and listened with his head tilted slightly. Seeing that the two had no intention of stopping, he couldn't help but ask, "I'm the first one? Why, are there many more people?" Sylvia shook her head. "No, there are only me, Andric, James and you. This place is too far away from where other wizards live. Andric and I have no other friends of the same age except James." Before Sirius could speak, Sylvia continued, "So, I'm really happy that you can celebrate your birthday with us." Sirius smiled when he heard what Sylvia said, "It's an honor for me to be invited by both hosts of the banquet." Sirius had thought there would be a lot of people, just like his and Rael's birthdays, which always turned into a pure-blood family social occasion. If it weren't for the invitation from Sia and Andric, and James kept asking him in his letters if he would come, he actually didn't want to come. He hated hypocritical socializing. But it was a good thing that Sia and Andric's birthdays were not like this. Regulus nodded, agreeing with his brother. He just didn't expect that there would be only a few people. But the Hops family and the Priest family are both pure-blood families. As long as they want, many people will be willing to come. But on second thought, the two families have been like this for so many years. If it weren't for Sirius this time, he actually wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet people from the two families. Here, Sylvia was introducing the garden to Sirius and Regulus. Such as this kind of flower was planted by her and her mother, Andric and James once competed to see who could climb higher on that tree, and the swing below was specially made for her by her father. Just by listening, he knew that this was a place completely different from the Black family. Sirius couldn't help but be a little curious about what their parents were like. Regulus on the side also showed an envious look. It turned out that other people's parents would play with them. Sirius did not miss the look in his brother's eyes. When he was little, he would pester him to tell stories, but in that environment, plus Walburga nagging him every day. He didn't want Lear to become one of those crazy people obsessed with pure blood, so it seemed that it was right to bring Lear out. "Forget it, the people I should be most grateful to are the Hops family, who agreed to my hasty request. I hope Lear can change his mind." Sirius' thoughts stopped here as he was attracted by a sound in the distance. Ah, it should be Andric and James. They seemed to be running back from the hillside. Sylvia, who was more familiar with these two voices, stood on tiptoe and looked into the distance. "Sirius, Sylvia. This is James. It seems there is another person. Is it Regulus? This is Andric." Merlin, after hearing what they said, Sylvia really didn't want to admit that these two idiots were her good brothers. "I really hope that if you spend more time with them, you won't use tildes like that when you speak," Sylvia said sincerely. Sirius shrugged. He hadn't tried running like that before, but it looked good. Regulus laughed. He had never met anyone who spoke like that before. It was quite novel. "Do you want to try running down like this?" Sylvia noticed the eagerness in Sirius' eyes and asked. Sirius nodded. "Grimmauld Place is full of muggles, Walburga won't let me go out, and there's nowhere to play nearby." "Oh, Walburga is my mother," Sirius added. Although it was the first time they talked about the Black family face to face, Sylvia understood it immediately through the letters and previous memories. "Then we can wait until the sun goes down to play. That would be so cool." "But it's okay, Walburga knows we're here, don't worry," Sirius explained, as if he understood what Sylvia hadn't finished saying. Afraid that he didn't explain it clearly, he added, "I wanted to sneak out, but Kriaker found out, the house elf. Walburga asked me where I was going, and I didn't intend to tell her, but she found out anyway. But it didn't matter, he brought Riel out as well." "That's great. I was worried that we wouldn't be able to have fun. Maybe you can stay here for a while." Thinking about what would happen if Walburga, the madman, didn't agree to Sirius coming, and Sirius angered her. Merlin hoped nothing would happen. But Sirius didn't talk about this, and she couldn't ask further. Regulus seemed to be completely distracted and didn't want to talk. When Andric and James came over, they got to know Regulus and then walked into the living room. Chapter 6. Anna and Lawrence stood up from the sofa and said to the little ones who came in, "Happy birthday, my dear babies." As soon as Sylvia and Andric guessed what their parents would say, they ran to them happily. "Oh, Dad! Mom! I love you!" Even though this sentence happens every day at home, the Hops family is still not stingy in expressing their love for their family. "Us, too," the Hops responded. Anna kissed Sylvia's forehead, and when it was Andric's turn, he grumbled in dissatisfaction that he was no longer a child and just wanted a hug like his father did. At this time, Sylvia, who was in her father's arms, said, "Yeah, you still need a good morning kiss, big baby Andric." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone burst into laughter. "Hey! Mom and Dad, where's my present?" Andric hurriedly changed the subject. He swore on Merlin's pants that if he didn't stop, he would be laughed at by the three boys behind him for the rest of his life. Lawrence knew his son's thoughts very well. He ignored Andric's embarrassment and continued to ask, "Oh? A big boy who wants a gift?" The atmosphere in the living room reached a climax again. James, who had long been accustomed to this, was not very surprised because his family was also like this. But the two brothers of the Black family showed longing eyes after laughing. Such an atmosphere was really happy, and they were really envious. And Andric and Sylvia had already run to the pile of gifts, happily sharing the gifts from the elders. Their maternal grandparents, Mr. and Mrs. Priest, travel abroad all year round, and happened to be in China recently. They didn't come back this time because they found traces of the Yeti in Tibet. When their grandparents, Mr. and Mrs. Hopes, heard about it, they excitedly rushed there to look for the Yeti together. Merlin, Sylvia couldn't believe it. Would there be snowmen in Tibet in August? However, Sylvia didn't know much about China in the context of the magical world, so he didn't dare to guarantee anything. He just felt sorry for the owl who worked so hard to deliver the letter. Also, weren't my grandparents studying how to make a magic wand? Why were they interested in the snowman? Did they want to make the wand core out of the snowman's hair? Forget it, these four old wizards always have their own ideas, but the gifts they give are always loved by Sylvia and Andric. And when they come back, they will bring a lot of small toys bought during the trip. If they don't always play tricks on her and Andric, Sylvia swears that she will love them more. "Sirius, Regulus, here are gifts for you." Before he knew it, he had opened most of the presents, leaving only 2 star-wrapped boxes with Sirius and Regulus names written on them in beautiful cursive script. The smiles on the faces of the 2 little wizards, who were still immersed in the happy atmosphere, were replaced by surprise. They had never expected that they would have a share. Anna smiled at the 2 boys. "Andric and Sylvia didn't tell you what you like, so Lawrence and I had to buy these 2 stargazing scopes. Your names are named after constellations, right? Merlin. It's a stargazer. But I prefer my watch, the one that reminds me of the time. It helps me a lot." James came close to Sirius and said excitedly. Seeing that Sirius and Regulus were still standing there, Andric stuffed the gifts directly into their hands. Sirius looked up and saw Lawrence, who was looking at him encouragingly and asking him to open the gift. "But, oh, Mrs. Hops, Mr. Hops." Regulus stammered. He, who had always received a good etiquette education, rarely showed a bit of helplessness. "Oh, don't be surprised. Mom and Dad will prepare gifts for each of our friends. The last one was James, he wears that watch every day now." Sylvia added, "Why don't you open it and take a look? I swear on Merlin's lace stockings, this is the best gift I have ever seen. Don't forget your necklace made of blue stone. But I still think my watch is the best." James shouted. It was given to him by Mr. and Mrs. Hopes when he was 5 years old. It was protected by magic and it still looks like new. That's a sapphire made from raw blue stone by the fire of a fire dragon. But my Montrose Magpie's badge is the best. Merlin. Sirius and Regulus were still stunned, their expressions as if they had really seen Merlin. After a few seconds, Sirius finally came back to his senses. "Thank you so much, Mr. and Mrs. Hops. This is the best gift I have ever received." Regulus agreed, "Really, it's the best gift I've ever received." Anna was amused by the 2 children's reactions. She had heard about Mrs. Black's style, but she didn't expect the 2 young masters of the Black family to be so surprised. Seeing this, she wanted to tease them and said in distress, "What if our gifts are not so popular in the future?" Before she finished speaking, Regulus interrupted her hastily, "No, this is enough for me, Mrs. Hops." Seeing that Regulus still had something to say, Andric rushed forward and hugged him and Sirius next, interrupting Sirius who was about to say something. Okay, Mommy just wants to tease you. Let's go eat the cake. This is made by Sylvia and I try it, I guarantee it's delicious. Regulus blushed at his hasty expression of love, and he secretly reminded himself not to do this again. After Sirius knew that this was just Mrs. Hopps's bad taste, he was glad in his heart that Andric interrupted him in time and didn't let him say it out loud, otherwise he would have blushed like Lear. James took the cake that Lawrence had cut. He took a deep breath, covered his chest with one hand, and pretended to be about to die heroically. He said, "My good friends, please remember to send me to St. Mungo's in time. Don't worry about the others, James." Thea said viciously, "Merlin, he knows I only added one potion." "Oh, is it the potion called poison only, James?" "Don't worry, I added a spoonful of it as well." Andric showed the same expression as Sylvia and spoke in a low voice. James looked like he was about to vomit blood when he heard this. Sirius immediately put down the cake in his hand and went forward to support him. "James, my good brother, I will miss you." "Really? I'm afraid there's no chance." Regulus looked at Sirius with a compassionate look. He concealed his merits and fame and said, "I also put a potion that only poisons Sirius." Without Regulus to participate in their game, Sirius reacted a bit slowly, but he quickly switched to the same state as James. The two of them screamed and fell onto the sofa. After looking at each other, they could no longer hold back their laughter. Chapter 7. There really couldn't be a better day than today. Regulus woke up in the sunlight-filled room and sat quietly on the bed, feeling it carefully. The story still has to start from last night. After James and Sirius finished their performance, Sylvia suddenly remembered that she had promised Sirius and Regulus to watch the sunset. She touched her head a little embarrassedly. She didn't expect that she had forgotten about it. She looked at the sky outside. It was not too late. Although the sunset was definitely gone, the sunset glow had not completely faded. It was a good time. After hearing Sylvia's arrangement, Andric looked back and forth at them. "When did you make the appointment?" His eyes fell on the faces of several people. "Why didn't I know?" "Don't worry about it, let's go." James winked at Andric, and the latter immediately changed his attitude. He went from questioning to nodding repeatedly. Now it was Sylvia's turn to look at James and Andric with suspicion. She didn't know what these two people had hidden from her. She didn't forget that she had been neglected for a long time some time ago. James went forward and grabbed Sirius and Regulus, while Andric grabbed Sylvia and said, "Mom, let's go out and play first." After that, they ran outside. "Wait, aren't we going to the hillside?" Sylvia was led to the hillside by Andric, but seeing that Andric and James had not stopped yet, she couldn't help but speak. There was no accurate answer, but a mysterious smile from Andric and James excited cheer. After passing the hillside and walking about 100 meters to the left, there is a path blocked by several trees. There are only scattered footprints on it, and it seems that not many people have been here. They walked forward along the messy footprints until they walked deeper into the forest. During this time, they were tripped by hanging branches many times. If the friends around them hadn't helped them in time, they would have been even more embarrassed than they are now. But they didn't complain, because the completely dark sky brought a hint of mystery to the scene before our eyes. Large groups of fireflies flew into the air because of the sudden intrusion of the little wizards. The light from their tails illuminated this place, revealing a corner of the mysterious vale. This was a grassland that no one had ever been to. The wildly growing weeds gently tickled Sylvia's exposed calves, causing waves of itchiness, but Sylvia had no time to care about it. Merlin's suspender lace stockings. "What is this place?" She opened her mouth in surprise. You have to know that she has lived in this valley for 11 years and didn't know there was such a place. "How did you find this place?" she asked anxiously. "Oh!" James groaned. "Remember the day Andric and I secretly rode our brooms? James and I were flying too fast." Andric continued. "Wait, so you guys hit a tree and fell here? Merlin, beautiful lady, please have some correct understanding of my flying skills. How could I, James Potter, the future Quidditch star, crash into a tree?" James was still immersed in the memories of the excitement brought by the flight that day, but when he heard Sylvia's words, he ignored everything else and immediately began to defend his flying skills. "Yes, that's right. Andric has always recognized his good brother's flying skills. Just when I thought he was going to hit the tree." "Hey! That's not happening!" James retorted loudly. "Don't be impatient, brother. I haven't finished yet. Andric ignored James's accusatory look and continued, he dived, I think it was the most handsome dive I've ever seen, and before I could react, I heard James screaming. I thought he had hit his head. To prevent Andric from saying anything that might damage his future Quidditch star, James interrupted him and said, that's what I saw. It's so beautiful. He showed an intoxicated expression and said in a yearning tone, I must bring my favorite witch here in the future, lie on the grass, and look at the sun and the clouds. Sylvia thought of the scene where James pursued Lily, and prayed silently that James would be successful. Come here quickly, Sylvia. James ended his imagination of the future and ran to a place. Sirius, Regulus, you guys come too. This is a simply built wooden house. Perhaps the builders did not expect so many people to come on this day, so the house seems a little crowded. Sylvia exclaimed, so you were busy building this cabin before? Yes, but we put a lot of effort into the swing over there. Andric pointed out the window. Through the window, one could see two huge trees behind the cabin. The branches on the left and right were used to make a swing with vines and daisies. James and I put a lot of effort into learning this magic. The young wizards who have not yet entered school do not have their own wands. They can only try again and again with second-hand wands at home. Even with their high talent, it still took them a long time to do it, let alone use magic to keep the flowers blooming. I'm sorry, Sylvia. Sylvia was a little confused by the sudden apology. Andric said hurriedly, I always ignored you during that period of time. I promise I won't do that again in the future. I know, Andric. Sylvia smiled. You already said you were sorry, and I really liked your surprise. Sirius, who had been ignored, suddenly spoke up, so, you brought us here to use it as a base. Sirius liked it here, free and casual. After seeing James and Andric nod, he said again, Merlin, you have so many surprises. Since arriving at the Hops's house, Regulus has been in a state of surprise. The young master of the Black family is about to fall in love with this place. Regulus has not grown into the introverted, silent boy obsessed with the Dark Lord. He is still a child who likes to play. I declare James' eyes lit up when he heard Sirius' words, this will be our first base. All adventures start from here. As he spoke, he raised his hand, and the remaining four smiled at each other and raised their hands as well. The 5 hands touching each other in the air represented the birth of a new team. Chapter 8. It was not until the moon was high in the sky that Regulus realized that they had been playing in the cabin for too long and it was already very late. He stood there somewhat uneasily, and noticing something unusual about Regulus, Sirius asked, what's wrong? It's late, and we haven't told Mom yet. Sirius, who didn't care about Walburga's thoughts at all but cared about Regulus, didn't know what to do for a moment. He was very conflicted now, with Regulus, who was obviously worried, on one side, and his friends whom he couldn't let go. The silence of the two brothers attracted the attention of the remaining 3 friends. After understanding the situation, Andric waved his hand and said, then let's go home first. If you want, you can actually stay at our house until school starts. Mom would be willing to write to Mrs. Black. Sylvia suggested. Really? This made the hesitant Regulus hard to believe. Could he really play here forever? Sirius was silent, which was rare. He was attracted by this proposal. This day at the Hops's house was very happy, and there were many friends to play with, but he didn't know what Walburga thought. Although she didn't have any unhappiness when she came, it didn't mean that she would agree to let them live here. My parents will definitely agree. Andric pushed Sirius and Regulus out. They won't mind writing a letter. Let's go back. We can know the result sooner. Hearing the word result, Sylvia was stunned. She almost forgot about this. Sylvia screamed, scaring the 4 boys so much that their hair stood on end, notice. Andric, our notice. Andric's pupils dilated. He just remembered that he hadn't received the notice yet. Now, regardless of what others thought, Andric and Sylvia hurriedly ran towards home. The Black brothers didn't care about anything else at this time. You know, the happiest thing in the wizarding world is to receive the admission letter from Hogwarts. They can't wait to see Andric and Sylvia's admission letters. Because there was such a big thing weighing on the minds of several people, they returned much faster than they left. Before she even entered the door, Anna heard her son yelling, letter. Mom, is there a letter from Hogwarts? Anna raised her eyebrows at Lawrence before the children came in. I knew it, their first words would be about the notice. She smiled happily, Don't forget that you have to do the housework these days, and you can't use magic. Before Lawrence could say anything, he saw Andric come in. He ran faster than the others, and because of that he was the only one who received Lawrence's resentful glare. Then Lawrence left behind a lonely back and turned to go to the kitchen to wash the dishes. Andric, who was not surprised by this, immediately realized that his parents were making a bet again, and it seemed that his father had lost again. He even took a second to think about whether he should help his father share some of the burden, but it was only a second. After all, the most important thing now was the Hogwarts letter and Sirius and the others' affairs. When Anna said she hadn't received the letter, Andric was a little suspicious and thought maybe the owl couldn't find the way. Or was it too tired and resting on the road? If he and Sylvia had not confirmed that there had been a magic riot, he would have suspected that the Hopes family had suddenly had 2 more duds. Sylvia and the others happened to see the scene when they came back, but they were not too worried because they knew they would definitely receive it anyway. Andric knew that it was useless to dwell on this matter. He had just observed that the 2 black boys did not show any dissatisfaction or rejection of the proposal to live at home. He simply asked directly, "Mom, can Sirius and Regulus stay at our house? It's too late today. Can you? Mom?" Anna, who was disturbed by his continuous calling of Mom, felt that she was really foresight. "I guessed that you would play until late today. I have already told Mrs. Black, and she agreed that you can stay here for a while." Perhaps because they were surprised by Walburga's unusual behavior, Sirius and Regulus didn't react for a moment, but soon Sirius whistled, jumped up and high-fived James and Andrew. Regulus acted a little more shy, but his low cheer was still caught by Shia. Still a child. Sylvia simply couldn't connect the rab who only left a letter with the happy boy in front of her. "I hope we can all have a good ending this time." What broke the happy atmosphere was 2 owls that came one after the other. They flew in from the open window and landed on the windowsill, proudly stretching out their right legs, which were tied with. "There are 2 letters." Sylvia quickly brought some bread and placed it at the feet of the 2 postmen. She patted their heads and said, "Thank you for your hard work. Eat quickly." While the owl was eating the bread, Sylvia and Andric took their letters from Hogwarts on the left and right. Sylvia looked at the letter that belonged to her in her hand. It was made of parchment, and the capital H was surrounded by a lion, an eagle, a badger, and a snake. Even though she knew in her heart that she would receive this letter, it was only when she actually received the letter and held it in her hands that she truly felt that she had come to the magical world and was going to Hogwarts to study. She opened the letter carefully, for she was really afraid that her trembling hands would damage it. "Merlin, look at what's written on it." She read aloud. "Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Headmaster, Albus Dumbledore. President of the International Federation of Wizards, First Class of the Order of Merlin, Archmage and Chief Magician of the Wizengamot. Dear Miss Hopes, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted to study at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Enclosed is a list of required books and equipment. Term is scheduled to begin on September 1st. We will be expecting your owl with your reply by August. Vice-Chancellor. Sincerely, Minerva McGonagall." Then there was a whole page of things that first-year students would need. At the end it specifically pointed out that first-year students are not allowed to bring their own broomsticks. Sylvia couldn't help but laugh. "Merlin, we can take the Hogwarts Express together on September 1 st." Hearing James' excited shouts in her ears, Sylvia felt extremely happy at this moment. Chapter 9. As the only young wizard present who had not received a notice, Regulus said that wizards' joys and sorrows were not the same, and he now just wanted to escape from this place where he was looking forward to the start of school. "Dear Rael, it's your fault that you are a year behind us." Sirius saw the depressed and envious Regulus. He patted his brother's shoulder with a gloating look, and his smug feeling was beyond words. Regulus's resentment towards Sirius was about to materialize. Shia found their interaction a little funny. She didn't expect them to be so interesting when they were little. Seeing that Regulus's fist could hit Sirius at any time, Shia took the initiative to suggest taking the 2 brothers to their room. The room is on the left side of the stairs on the 3rd floor. The walls of the corridor are covered with simple drawings drawn by children. If you look closely, you can see that some of the papers have SH and some have a written on the lower left corner. Hanging in the most conspicuous position is a portrait of 4 people. The lady with long silver-white hair sitting on the chair looked forward gently. The black-haired man next to her didn't smile as clearly as she did, but it was not difficult to see his joy from his eyes. 2 children of similar height stood behind. The boy had short black hair and light green eyes. The girl's hair just reached her shoulders, and was also a beautiful silver-white color. It was hard for people who saw her not to notice her eyes. If the boy's eyes were like the grassland in early spring, full of incomparable vitality, then the girl's eyes were as blue as the sky. Of course, this portrait is not like a stick figure, the characters in it are always moving. The boy and the girl were playing, and seeing Sirius looking at them, they immediately pointed at each other, their eyes full of "it's each other's fault." The adults sitting there waved to him as a greeting. "This is the family photo we took this year. We take new ones every year, and the previous ones are moved to the downstairs corridor. If you have any problems, you can come to us. Andrix and my room are just across the street." Sylvia pointed to the opposite side. One had a sign that said SH, and the other had A. "Next door to you is James." Following Sylvia's hand, I saw a sign with JP written on it. "This room is exclusively for him. He spends at least 10 days a month at our house. You will be staying at my house for 10 of the remaining 20 days. James put his arm around Andrix's shoulders and said to Sylvia, "Your room is much better than mine and Andrix, no matter which one it is." After saying good night, several people returned to their rooms. Lying on the bed, Sylvia felt like she had forgotten something. What was it? She rolled over on the bed, thinking carefully. Sirius also came home, she also went to the new secret base, and she also received the letter from Hogwarts. Thinking back to the moment when she closed the door, she also saw Sirius carefully put the stargazer given by his parents on the table. It was a very good gift. Sylvia had to admit that if she received it, she would also like it very much. A gift, Merlin. She forgot to give it to Andric. She jumped off the bed in a hurry and found the gift placed at the back of the closet. She was always worried that James or Andric would see it. Although the boys would knock on the door and ask before entering the room, what if they broke into the room through the window while riding a broom? Sylvia said that it was always right to be careful, and she would not be surprised by anything that happened to them. She was about to go out with the model in her hand, but was hit as soon as she opened the door. Perhaps the person on the other side was too strong, and she fell to the ground with her butt. Fortunately, there was a thick carpet, otherwise she really felt that her tailbone would be broken. Sylvia. The person who bumped into her asked in surprise, "You didn't sleep? Andre, you haven't slept either, so don't talk about me." After he really adapted to the dark environment, he saw that Sylvia was protecting something in her arms, and she fell directly to the ground because she couldn't free her hands to support herself. He reached out and helped Sylvia up. "Oh, I forgot to give you a gift," he said uncomfortably. "This is from James and me. I wanted to secretly leave it at your door, but I didn't expect you were still awake. Sorry for knocking you down." He reached out and handed Sylvia 2 exquisitely packaged boxes. "Open them and take a look. I have been choosing for a long time. We are really a pair of stupid siblings." Sylvia didn't reach out to take it, but laughed. "This is for you, I forgot about it." "Sorry, Andric. But happy birthday." "Happy birthday." The brother and sister smiled at each other after apologizing to each other. After exchanging gifts, Andric said, "I'll go back first. James and the others are waiting for me. You'd better not sneak out to play. Mom and Dad will worry." Okay. We won't go far." Ignoring what Andric said, which was obviously problematic, Sylvia closed the door and could now go to sleep. But before she fell asleep, she felt as if there was some noise coming from the window. What could it be? She walked over curiously and opened the curtains. Moonlight immediately poured in. The boy on the broom was just like when they first met. His hair was gently blown by the wind. One hand was holding the broom, and the other hand was on her window. Against the moonlight, she couldn't quite see the boy's face. She only heard a clear young voice saying, "I just heard Andric say you're still awake. This is for you. It's a little late, but the day isn't over yet, is it?" He shook the gift he took out of his pocket and looked at the girl standing by the window. Her expression was a little surprised. How could she not be surprised? Every time Sirius appeared, he could bring her a great shock. Should she say that he was indeed one of the most handsome guys in the original work? Sylvia reached out and took it, but didn't open it directly. Sirius said in a voice a little deeper than before, "I hope you enjoy it." "I haven't said it yet, happy birthday." "Thanks, I think I'd like that. But why are you outside?" "Oh, James said he wanted to go on an adventure." "You are moved." Sylvia said affirmatively. After receiving a somewhat guilty look from the opposite side, Sylvia opened the window a little wider and said, "Want to come in? It's still very windy outside." Before I could say anything, I heard footsteps at Sylvia's door. "I'll go check it out. Whether you come in or not, remember to close my window." Seeing Sirius nod, Sylvia turned around and went to open the door again. It was Regulus. Regulus. Sylvia and Sirius asked at the same time. Neither of them expected to see him now. After all, he looks like Slash is a good kid who goes to bed early and gets up early. "This one's for you. Happy birthday, Sylvia." Sylvia burst out laughing. Why did everyone forget this today? Just as I was about to say thank you, I saw Regulus pointing out the window with a look of horror. Is there something strange? Isn't it Sirius outside the window? Sylvia turned her head in confusion. Sirius had already entered the room at this time, and the broom was not in his hand, which was not strange. Then all that's left is... Chapter 10. Boom. Sylvia watched helplessly as two heads flew in from a distance and hit her window. "Be careful." She felt a weight on her body and fell to the ground, but she did not feel the pain as she had imagined. "Shia. Are you okay?" Sylvia saw her father rushing to her side and her mother protecting Regulus behind her. She shook her head and said, "Sirius just took me away." She turned to look at Sirius, and felt relieved to see that he was fine. At this time, the culprits were suspended in midair by Lawrence's magic. They raised their hands awkwardly and said, "Hey, a surprise, isn't it?" "Andric, this surprise is not funny." Lawrence was serious for once. "You shouldn't be riding brooms outside so late, and you shouldn't be flying without an adult." "But, Uncle Lawrence." "James, I know what you mean." Lawrence still did not slow down his expression. "You and Andric are very talented in this area, I know. But talent does not mean that you can handle every little situation perfectly, right? I would rather you start some harmless adventures after you have undergone systematic training and mastered basic spells after entering school." "Oh, sorry Dad." "Sorry. You shouldn't say sorry to me. This is Sylvia's room." Lawrence didn't make his words very clear. He knew that the two troublesome little guys would understand. "You don't need to say sorry to me, it should be my window." Sylvia interrupted what they were about to say. Anna came forward at this time and used her wand to restore Sylvia's room to the state it was in before everything happened. It was rare that she did not smile at them. "You should reflect on yourself, Andric, James. What would have happened if Sirius was not here today, if he reacted a step slower, if Sylvia happened to fall asleep in bed? Lawrence and I will never interfere with you, even if you go out to play. But if your behavior affects others, innocent people, then you really have to think about whether it is right to do so, even if it is fun and you think it is foolproof." "Oh, Mrs. Hopes, it's me. I was the one who said that I've never had the pleasure of riding a broom at home." Sirius felt a little uneasy. This idea was proposed by him, and the three of them had practiced it together. If he had not secretly fallen behind to give Sylvia a gift, if he had not asked Andric and James to put the broom back after entering the room, then he would be the one in the air with them now. He couldn't just stand here and do nothing. Regulus on the side also said quickly, "I know they want to go out, but I didn't persuade them." "Yes, Sirius, I think you should think carefully about what I said, right?" Seeing that Sirius was getting more and more nervous, Anna also slowed down her tone. "I'm not angry with you, but, gentlemen, please think carefully about the consequences before you do anything, okay?" She turned to an equally nervous Regulus and said, "Oh, Regulus, dear, it's certainly not your fault." Regulus' hands were still twisted behind his back. He didn't relax completely. What if Mrs. Hops was like her mother? Merlin. The angry man he imagined did not appear. He felt a gentle force caressing his hair. "Even if you go out together, I won't blame you, provided you ensure your own safety and do not cause trouble to others. If you want, you can go out with them, but of course, not in the near future." When Regulus heard the first half of Anna's sentence, he was more surprised than happy. He didn't expect that even in such a situation, the Hops couple were not angry about sneaking out. They were more concerned about safety. But when he heard the second half of the sentence, he thought, there should still be a punishment. Sure enough, he heard Lawrence say, "All the housework during this period, except for cooking, will be undertaken by you. Is that okay, gentlemen? If you want to try to cook a meal for us, that's fine. Of course. We are willing. The three boys, knowing they were in the wrong, spoke up immediately, and Regulus, who thought he had his own reasons, also agreed. Okay, now you really need to go to bed. After Lawrence put Andric and James down, Anna gave each of the 5 little wizards a hug, and then drove the 4 boys back to their respective rooms. After the window was repaired, she did not draw the curtains again. She looked at the moon outside. The soft moonlight shone into the room, stretching the shadow of Miss Bell, her favorite oversized bear doll, which she placed on the carpet, very long. She felt that the moon seemed brighter than before. Was it because today was so wonderful? But what about Andric and James? With their abilities, it seems that such a thing would not happen, right? Is the broom broken or? At the end of her gradually blurred consciousness, Sylvia seemed to remember that she had stolen a second-hand wand from home a few days ago and cast a few small spells. Was it at the door of the broom showroom? Before Sylvia could figure it out, she fell asleep. The moon was gradually covered by clouds at this time. Good night, little wizards. Chapter 11. When Regulus finally woke up, he remembered the disaster that happened before he went to bed. Oh no! He raised his hands to cover his eyes and sighed deeply. What made him feel embarrassed was not only whether he had brought a bad influence on the image of the Black family outside, but also the punishment of doing housework that he had agreed to yesterday. It's not that he regretted it after waking up from his sleep, but he had never done such a thing. Kriaker was the one who helped before, and house elves are basically present in every wizard family. However, I did not see them in the Hops family. He didn't pay too much attention to these trivial matters. It was more important to go downstairs and see if there was anything he could do to help. He and Sirius had already caused trouble at the Hops house, and he couldn't make things worse. Moreover, selfishly, he didn't want the Hops couple to hate him. Just as Regulus was about to open the door and go downstairs, his door was forced open by an unknown force. Leading the way was Andric, holding a spatula in his hand. Following behind was James, holding a frying pan. Hey, Regulus, you're the only one missing. Where's Sirius? Oh, Sirius is already busy in the kitchen. We are going to make spaghetti bolognese. This is what we discussed yesterday. But seeing that your expression didn't look good, I didn't say anything. James did not say this, because he saw that Regulus' expression was exactly the same as yesterday, so it was better not to speak now. Really? What an energetic bunch. Merlin, forgive me for not knowing how to describe these 3 boys. They don't seem to be afraid of getting into trouble at all. They always act before thinking. If the division of the houses is completed in another month, Regulus will probably understand what this is called. They are a group of Gryffindors after all. He considered and asked, can you do it? What we got was not the 2 people firmly saying they could do it, but their solemn words, don't worry, I've seen how it's done, and I can do it. For a moment, Regulus almost forgot to maintain his usual personality. Before he was about to say a few swear words, reason pulled him back. I hope Sirius won't blow up someone else's kitchen. I hurried to the kitchen downstairs. Sirius. What's wrong? Sirius turned his head with some confusion and looked at his brother who was shouting at him. Nothing. Good thing Sirius didn't blow up the kitchen. Let me help you. Do you want to wash all this? Since when does the young master of the Black family do these things? You are from Black family too. Sirius did not refute what Regulus said, he was indeed a Black. Well, Andric said we need tomatoes and broccoli, maybe you could help us cut them. Regulus picked up the ingredients Sirius had washed and began to process them silently. Merlin, I didn't expect you to be so talented. James made a surprised sound. It doesn't take much brains to cut things, and I only cut one, and it doesn't look good. Regulus felt that he was a little out of place here. Oh, does this still need to look good? Don't worry about it, it's just a family problem. But if that's the case, I think I'm quite talented, and this tomato is pretty nice to wash. I think. Everyone likes things that look good, especially food. The words that Regulus had not yet spoken were drowned out by the chattering of the other 3 boys. The cutting is good, but it seems a bit of a waste to give it to 3 of them. Sylvia had no idea when she reached the kitchen. Frightened, Regulus lowered his head and continued to work on it, saying thank you. Do you dare to eat what they cook? Seeing that Regulus didn't understand what she meant, Sylvia continued, I mean, look over there. The trio nearby were arguing about what seasoning to add, and they all sounded unreliable. Regulus felt that he had been silent more in the past 2 days than in the past few years. Of course, he was silent because he had nothing to say. I think. He spoke with some difficulty. On the one hand, he felt that this was something they had worked so hard on and that the affection should not be wasted. On the other hand, he felt that his sin and this little affection were not enough to send him to St. Mungo's. However, he did not understand what Sylvia meant. So, do you want to sneak out with me? What? Regulus widened his eyes. Slip out, sneak out? He had to admit that he was tempted. No matter what he ate, it was better than foreseeing his own death here. And he also wanted to try what it felt like to sneak out, which Sirius always liked. Sylvia, but where are we going? How do we get there? And Mr. Hops and the others? Regulus was still a little hesitant. Got it, Slytherin's caution. Oh, no, we can't have stereotypes. We can't think that caution is only for Slytherins just because the people around us are short of brains and have only courage. This is wrong, Sylvia. Hey! Regulus didn't understand why Sylvia suddenly patted her face, as if to drive away some bad thoughts. Mom and Dad are out and won't be back until the evening. We can go to Diagon Alley through the fireplace first, and then go to... Sylvia chattered about the general route. You mean the Muggle place? Regulus didn't expect this. He thought they were going to Diagon Alley at most. Don't be so defensive, Regulus. We haven't even been there yet. Aren't you curious? But my mother said that they all smelled disgusting and dirty. But why did Sirius like to go out so much? Once he started to think about other things, it meant that he had begun to waver. Well, if there's any problem, we must come back quickly. Sylvia patted her chest and said to Regulus with a smile, no problem, just leave it to me. She would never say that she deliberately didn't tell Regulus, but that her parents had tacitly agreed to it. From the fact that they left nothing behind in the morning except for some gold galleons, she could guess that her parents had no intention of letting them cook for themselves. But it was so exciting to lead a good kid astray. I didn't dare to think about the expressions of the others after this incident, but I'd better take him away first. Chapter 12. Charing Cross Road. People were coming and going on the street, and no one seemed to notice that 2 people about 10 years old suddenly appeared between the bookstore and the record store. Sylvia, are you sure this is okay? Regulus was still a little worried, so he said to the girl standing next to him. Oh, you should at least trust Gringotts. Regulus wrinkled his nose. He didn't think goblins were trustworthy. Gringotts is the safest place besides Hogwarts, but goblins are not. Don't think he didn't see that when Sylvia was exchanging Muggle currency, the goblin in charge was interested in the bracelet that Sylvia showed. He knew about goblins, and they refused to admit that things made by goblins for wizards belonged to wizards, so the goblin should have recognized that the bracelet was made by goblins. Is your bracelet made by a goblin? Sylvia was a little stunned for a moment, not expecting why Regulus' words jumped so quickly. Fairy, yes. She thought. This one. She showed her wrist, and the sunlight just happened to hit it, and the dazzling light flashed in their eyes. Regulus couldn't see the person in front of him clearly. He could only see her mouth opening and closing. Then he heard an unreal voice saying, my grandmother gave it to me. I didn't expect it was made by a fairy. Regulus didn't pay attention to the other person. Maybe she was still talking, or maybe she had stopped. He just wanted to make sure, if he was right. Regulus? Regulus? Sylvia, what's wrong? Sylvia suppressed her doubts. She found that Regulus was a little abnormal. She looked left and right on the street but couldn't see anything. She had to wave her hand in front of Regulus. Nothing, I just wanted to say I found a restaurant, can we go in and sit down? Regulus' condition was really bad, and Sylvia was a little worried whether it was the right choice to bring him out this time. Sorry, I was distracted just now. Regulus knew that his behavior was a little strange, and he didn't want himself to affect this trip, although it was to the Muggle world. After all, it was his first time out, and he had many opportunities to go, at least not now. Let's go, I'm looking forward to the difference between Muggle food and wizard food. If she hadn't known the seriousness in Regulus's eyes and knew that he was really curious, Sylvia would have suspected that this person was being sarcastic. Merlin's beard, she began to feel pressured. So far, Regulus' attitude towards Muggles has only been a little resistant at the beginning, but the fact that he came out with her means that he has not yet reached the level of contempt. If they happened to eat something unpalatable this time. She didn't dare to think about how Regulus would change his impression of Muggle food or even Muggles. She couldn't make any promises, at least not when her character was that she had never been to the Muggle world, although she did not know how the Muggle food here was like. Well, are you okay? Regulus dared to swear by Sirius' hair. He saw cold sweat starting to appear on Sylvia's forehead. Don't ask him why he knew it was cold sweat. Even if it wasn't, there was Sirius' hair against it. I mean, forget it. Anything is safer than Andric's cooking. Sylvia felt relieved. No matter what, she had Andric's strength to support her. At least other foods would not give them the chance to enter St. Mungo's. Regulus began to get really worried, even with Aunt Jane and even Sirius there to support him. This worry continued until... What is this? Coke, with ice. Sylvia poked the floating ice with a straw, took a big sip, and made a satisfied sound. Well, it looks black. Following Sylvia's movements, Regulus also poked it and took a sip doubtfully. Regulus opened his eyes wide, and what Sylvia would see next was Regulus letting go of the reserve of a pure-blood wizard, although she didn't think there was any such reserve in a pure-blood wizard, but since that was what was said, she would just see it, from tentatively taking a sip at the beginning to drinking directly in big gulps. Very good, Mr. Coke performed very well, as stable as ever. Miss Sylvia felt that this adventure had a good start. After drinking the Coke in her mouth, Sylvia silently nodded a thumbs up. Then what is this? Hamburger. Sylvia looked at the double burger that was pointed at it. Well, I hope Mr. Hamburger can perform stably. The clerk said so. Thinking of her own character, Sylvia quickly added, pretending that she remembered it because she had a good memory, not because she was familiar with this kind of food. No one is more dedicated than herself, if there are actors in the magic world. Well, dedication is useless, Regulus seems to not hear what I am saying at all. Merlin's beard. Things from the Muggle world are quite delicious. Regulus was very satisfied. He had to admit that Sylvia was right. Screw Sirius's cooking. If Creaker could cook. What are you thinking? Sylvia did not miss Regulus's whisper. She did not dare to imagine how Creaker would cook Muggle food. Would he really not put poison in it? Maybe he would not do that for Master Regulus, but it was hard to say for Sirius. I hope Sirius can live well. No, the point is not whether Sirius will be poisoned, but whether Creaker will really do it. If it is Regulus who proposed it, is it really possible? No, that's not the point. The point is that then Creaker will know that his dear Master Regulus ate Muggle food, and he is not clean. Wait, can't say that, it's a bit strange. If Creaker knew, he would definitely tell her mistress. This would be like Walburga knowing that Regulus, the obedient and good boy, was brought to the Muggle world by him and fell in love with Muggle food. Then, would she fall in love with the Muggle world and a Muggle? She would be killed by Walburga. She was only 11 years old. She would even be the first little wizard to die because of a Coke burger. Sylvia's expression became more and more terrified. She stared blankly ahead, but her hands and mouth did not stop moving. She was still mechanically putting the burger into her mouth, then mechanically chewing it, mechanically swallowing it, and then mechanically continuing to put it in. What are you thinking? I was wondering if you would fall in love with Ma. Sylvia woke up with a start and quickly shut her mouth. Some things can only be thought about. It would be too scary if they really came true. Moreover, she didn't know when her imagination became so rich. The sudden pause would definitely arouse suspicion. Sylvia opened her mouth and tried to think of something to say quickly, but couldn't say anything. She was a little desperate. Regulus opposite her was about to print a question mark in his eyes. Oh, I wonder if you would like the feeling of being in trouble. Regulus felt his doubts become more concrete, and he was a little confused. What's the trouble? I would like to ask this beautiful lady and this gentleman something. 3 shadows suddenly appeared in front of him, and one of the dark shadows spoke. Oh, it's over. This is the final thought of the sneak duo. Chapter 13. Hi. Sylvia felt a little guilty. She didn't dare to look at the 3 people standing behind Regulus. Merlin, who can come and save her? Sirius, Andric, James. Regulus pretended to be calm with a barely perceptible tremor. Have you eaten? Do you want to sit down with us? What a great move, Mr. Black. Sylvia is willing to offer her eternal respect for Regulus's move. Only Merlin knows that she is still immersed in a kind of fear called Sirius and James. Regulus is her god. Sirius snorted and then silently pulled out a chair and sat down. Andric beside him glanced at Sylvia and Regulus. Unfortunately, Miss Hops happened to meet the eyes of her brother, who was in a bad mood. Andric looked at him and asked, "What's going on? Why did you come out alone?" "Sylvia, I don't know. Maybe some killer wants to murder us? You have to trust the wizard's intuition." "Andric, fine." James did not attack Sylvia and Regulus like his two friends did. Seeing that the three did not pursue the matter further, Sylvia and Regulus quietly let out a breath and relaxed. However, things started when James sat down on the chair that Andric had just pulled out, and Sylvia and Regulus breathed a sigh of relief. "James, please, read the air a little. Please." "What is this?" James poked at the combination of bread and meat on the table. "Oh, this black, steaming thing looks terrible." Then he took a sip. "That's right, took a sip. Didn't you say this is terrible? Why drink it? This is mine." Regulus was helpless and furious. This was the first time he hated the damn table manners and the damn Black family's upbringing so much. He should have punched the person in the face. Regulus, who had made up his mind to teach James a lesson when no one was around, calmed down. He said in a calm and almost ruthless tone, "This is mine. If you want to drink it, you should buy one yourself. Instead of drinking my Coke here." "Oh, sorry bro, but this is really delicious." James took another big sip. Sirius hadn't seen such a wonderful expression on Regulus' face for a long time. He was a little curious about how delicious it was. But there was no extra on the table for him. Receiving Sirius's pleading gaze, Sylvia looked at Andric. Seeing Andric's relaxed expression, she smiled casually, "Andric, do you want one?" "Since you..." Andric, who had been waiting for his sister's steps, was ready to go down. He was not as serious as he appeared, but it was hard to let go. "Stop it, Andric. I get it." As soon as Andric opened his mouth, she knew that the matter was over. Damn, Andric was so fierce. She wasn't like this when he ran away with James, right? Sylvia suddenly felt justified. Damn it, she was actually scared by this guy Andric. "How did you get here?" Sylvia suddenly thought of this question while waiting for her hamburger and Coke. "It's a long story." Andric was obviously trying to avoid the gaze that Sylvia was looking at him. "Just like this, like this, like this, we found it." James took advantage of the situation. "Yet," Sirius said briefly. Sylvia was so angry that she almost laughed. That was why she and Regulus felt guilty at the time. The people on the other side obviously didn't use any legitimate means. Regulus's eyes also became sharp, and his burning gaze was about to pierce through Sirius. Andric was not in a better mood after being retaliated against. Sylvia seemed to be possessed by his mother, making him want to tell everything. In the end, he couldn't stand the pressure. "We knew it the moment you left, and watched you go through the fireplace and head for Diagon Alley. But you lost it," Sylvia said firmly, "otherwise you wouldn't come here so late." "Yes, we arrived at Diagon Alley but didn't see you, so we wandered around. Then you came out of Gringotts. You could have just called out to us when you saw us." Regulus commented sharply. "Hey, our Coke is here, is that what it's called?" "James, your ability to change the subject is really weak." Sylvia was speechless. Several people spent a wonderful lunch in this small restaurant. After finishing all the eating activities, Sirius asked, "What are the plans next?" Regulus was about to laugh. "Sirius? A plan?" He actually laughed. "Sorry, I didn't mean to." "Go on, Sirius." I felt my temples throbbing. When did Regulus become like this? Wasn't the change from a good boy to now too fast? "We can walk around, after all, this is our first time here," Sylvia suggested. They walked aimlessly on the street, and then came to the outside of an amusement park. Looking at the various facilities spinning in the air, several broomstick and Quidditch enthusiasts showed longing eyes. As the finance minister who was in charge of this trip, Sylvia would not say that she walked here on purpose. After experiencing several projects, several people set their sights on the pirate ship. Excited shouts and a severe sense of weightlessness accompanied Sylvia. She really wanted to vomit. This feeling. She hated the pirate ship. Coming down from upstairs in a daze, Sylvia felt really bad because she seemed to see Sirius with 3 heads approaching her, but she really didn't have the brain to think about whether Sirius really had 3 heads. She urgently needed a bottle of water and a place to sit. Thanks to the 3-headed Sirius, he brought her to the bench and bought her a bottle of iced orange juice. Sirius, who had turned into a head again, sat next to Sylvia. Sylvia wondered why he didn't play other projects with the others. You don't think you can stay here alone in this state, do you? Sirius looked at the girl with a dull look with a smile in his eyes. It seemed that she really didn't hear the discussion just now. Without realizing that she had spoken out her doubts, Sylvia stood up and asked, "Why is the sky spinning and the ground shaking?" Sirius stopped her from moving forward. Sylvia, who was being restrained, slowly recovered. "Thank you, Sirius. I feel much better now. It seems that Sylvia can no longer ride on the pirate ship. It seems that I can't ride on a pirate ship anymore." 2 people thought of the same thing. Looking at the setting sun, Sylvia thought it was time to go back. When she was about to ask Sirius to go find Andric and the others, she heard Sirius mutter, "Andromeda." Then she felt Sirius suddenly react and turned his back. Then he moved half a step to the left and stood under the shade of the tree, letting himself be wrapped in the shadow. Chapter 14. Following Sirius's gaze, Sylvia saw a girl with black curly hair holding the arm of the boy next to her. She didn't know what the other boy said, but the girl looked at him and laughed. Looking closely at her exposed profile, she looked somewhat like Sirius Regulus. "Ah, it's Andromeda Black and Ted Tonks, it can't be anyone else," Thea thought. "I didn't expect to meet them here." Judging from Sirius's appearance, it should be the time when Andromeda had not yet eloped and fled the Black family for love. What is Bellatrix's situation now? Has she joined the Death Eaters or is she still in school? She really doesn't know. Thinking of Bellatrix's madness, Sylvia couldn't help but shudder. Before Sylvia's shiver subsided, she saw another person. Bellatrix Black. Caught off guard, Sia and Bellatrix looked at each other. Just for a second, Sylvia quickly looked away from her. Merlin, she just looked at her a little longer. What an amazing perception. Sylvia turned her face away. She finally understood what Sirius had just done. Fortunately, Bellatrix's current attention is not on the little girl watching her on the street. Most of her energy is focused on Andromeda in front of her. Merlin bless Andromeda. Sirius didn't bother to think about why his favorite cousin Andromeda was here with a strange man. It was just that now was not a good time. He suppressed all the thoughts in his mind and said, "Let's go, Sylvia." "It is good." "What is this? A younger brother catches his sister secretly in love?" The Black children had a pretty good relationship when they were young, especially Andromeda, who was rare in her gentleness compared to her sisters. Bella became different after the appearance of the Dark Lord. She seemed to have found her quest and kept encouraging others to follow her during family gatherings. Sissy was very arrogant since she was a child, but because of their relationship as cousins, her attitude was pretty good. "Sylvia, are you feeling better?" Andric, who was completely unaware of what was happening here, was more concerned about his sister's situation. After getting Sylvia's nod, Andric felt relieved. Seeing that the other boys still wanted to continue playing, Sylvia said, "Let's go home." Okay. Are you still feeling uncomfortable?" Andric's heart, which had just calmed down, became nervous again. "No, I'm just a little tired after playing for too long," Sylvia explained. Seeing this, the other friends agreed and indeed played outside for a long time. Hop says. It was the first time that Anna and Lawrence let the brother and sister go out alone in the Muggle world. Especially since these children were not the kind of people who could sit still, it would be a lie to say that they were not worried, but when they saw them come back laughing, they felt a little relieved. "Mr. Hops, could you please take Sirius and I home tomorrow?" Because the fireplace in the Black family was not connected to that in the Hops family, they could not go back via flow powder, so they could only let Mr. Hops take them back by apparition. Of course. Lawrence agreed and was a little surprised. He didn't expect that the Black family's children would go back so soon. "Don't you want to play here anymore? We agreed to go to the secret base tomorrow." Andric tried to persuade them to stay, but unfortunately he failed. Regulus didn't really want to go back so early, but he had his reasons for going back. Sirius, who had guessed something, did not refute what Regulus said. After everyone went back to rest, he quietly went to Regulus' room and asked, "Did you see it too?" What? Sometimes Regulus really couldn't understand what his brother was saying. I mean Andromeda. You should have seen it, otherwise she wouldn't have suddenly asked to go back to Grimmauld Place. Sirius rarely did not laugh at Regulus's slow reaction. He answered calmly. In the dim room, Sirius' eyes seemed much deeper than before. He stared at Regulus, trying to find something in them. Regulus's thoughts drifted away as he was being stared at. Sirius was indeed a real black. He looked no different from the black family he had been trying to get rid of. However, what interrupted his thoughts was what Sirius said next. Have you seen Bella? What? Regulus was a little out of control. He jumped up from the bed and let out a low growl at Sirius, who was still sitting. Bella? Merlin, we should go back now. Oh, Sirius, why didn't you say so earlier? He walked anxiously. Bella didn't know when she started to become a little crazy. Now they found that Andromeda, their engaged cousin, was very close to a man. If she was a pure blood, it would be fine. But if she was not? Merlin. Regulus knew what kind of person his uncle Sinus was, and he also knew what kind of punishment he would receive if he didn't obey the family's wishes. Thinking about what might happen next, he was really... Don't worry, Rael. Sirius was still calm. Maybe things were not as bad as he thought. Even if the other party was really a muggle, he just had to escape from the family before being exposed. But the difficulty lay with Bella. Oh, yes. No need to worry, if Bella is just going to visit the muggle world. As soon as this was said, Sirius fell silent. They all knew that this was impossible. Although Regulus had always been called a good boy, Sirius, who grew up with him, knew that it was just because he had always been rebellious and Regulus didn't want to make Walburga more sad. Regulus could still be taken to the muggle world by Shia to eat muggle food, but Bella couldn't be attracted to Andromeda to go there. The atmosphere was a little quiet for a while. Regulus couldn't understand. From the perspective of the family, Andromeda's marriage was the best and most advantageous one, a marriage with a pure blood family. But why would it be with a? He asked, but why did Andromeda break the engagement? Liar, do you really think that marrying someone you don't know is a good choice? I don't know, but Mom and Dad. Oh, you don't know how they get along, do you? Then, what about Sissy and Malfoy? Regulus still didn't want to give up. He tried to find a fulcrum that could support him. They are just exceptions. Can't you see the difference among so many pure-blood marriages? Lear, don't deceive yourself. I didn't. Regulus didn't want to admit that he damn well found that Sirius seemed to be right, but for the family. Of course, for the family. But Lear, I hope you cannot put the family in such an important position. Seeing that his brother was getting a little emotional again, Sirius waved his hand at him soothingly. What I mean is, if you meet a girl you like, I hope you will not give up this relationship because of the family. Oh, Sirius. Regulus blushed a little at what Sirius said. It's nothing. You'll be 11 in a little while, and they'll bring up your engagement. Regulus sat on the bed deflated. I know, so. Regulus did not say the next words. He pessimistically found that he really seemed to have nothing to say. Sirius just patted his head and said, okay, don't think about it. Go to bed early. Then he walked out of Regulus' room and returned to his own room. He thought about what would happen if this happened to him, breaking the engagement. Although he didn't have an engagement now, he would still be in the same situation, but he would definitely not obey the arrangement. That night, the two black brothers tossed and turned, thinking about this matter. Perhaps they thought about it for too long and fell asleep without realizing it. Chapter 15. The next morning, Lawrence sent Sirius and Regulus back. When the two brothers returned to Grimmauld Place, they did not see the quarrel they had imagined. The whole old house was still as gloomy and depressing as before. Master Sirius, Master Regulus. The house elf who suddenly appeared bent down and said, but his tone towards the former was far less respectful than that towards the latter. Where's my mother? Regulus asked the elf who had raised him. Sirius and Regulus felt a little relieved knowing that Walburga was in the living room. Very good, everything seems very peaceful, at least in the old house. In Sirius' room, Regulus was thinking about this carefully. No, I need to go find Andy. Sirius suddenly spoke up, startling Regulus. Are you kidding me, Sirius, now? What's your excuse for going? I can't just watch and do nothing. Sirius stopped walking. He had been very calm last night and even in the morning, and did not show any special nervousness or worry. But ever since he stepped into Grimmauld Place, he felt as if there was an unknown anger surging in his body, and he could not stop this unknown emotion from controlling himself. Come to think of it, Bella may have just warned Andy. As long as Andy gives up that unknown gentleman after thinking about it all night, Regulus thought there was still room for maneuver. Remember what I told you yesterday? Do you think Andy will change his mind? If the marriage partner is Traverse. Of course I remember. Wait, what did you say? Traverse? And Andy? Not. Of course Regulus remembered what Sirius said, but these things were still a little far away from him after all, he hadn't even received the notice. Even if he didn't like the marriage partner, he would find an excuse to cancel the marriage. It was not difficult and it was normal to cancel the marriage among pure-blood families, as long as the other party was not a brainless troll. But he didn't expect Andromeda to marry Traverse. Of course not is a good choice, assuming he is not a thing of the past. The matter between Andy and the Traverse family has not been finalized, but Cygnus and Alimo Traverse have discussed it. At the next Black or Traverse party, all the pure-blood families attending will know about it. But why? No, how did you know? Of course Traverse's offer is better. Andy told me that. It's not important. Sirius thought about how he and Regulus had reacted the same way when he learned about it from Andromeda that day. Just think about it. Cole Traverse, the short guy who only knows how to eat and can't even hold a wand, is going to marry our cousin Andy, who got 10 OS in L. Sirius became more and more emotional as he spoke. Andy was the one with whom he had the best relationship among the three Black sisters. She could understand his thoughts and even hated the theory of bloodline and the idea of pure blood supremacy as much as he did. I'm sorry, is that the Cole I know? The Traverse family is not a good place. Regulus had once gone to a banquet with Walburga, and Cole Traverse had never shown up during the entire event. The wizards who went to school with him all looked down on him, and his father, Alimo Traverse, was just a man who took advantage of his pure-blood status to fool around. Yes, that's Cole Traverse, the one who drank potions secretly and ruined his brain. Sirius's expression turned strange when he thought of this. Merlin, even if his brain wasn't damaged by the potion, he himself was. Sirius sneered. Potions? Someone who drinks potions casually. Should we say they are worthy of being the child of siblings? Regulus was truly silent. He was surprised because he didn't know that Andromeda and Not's engagement had expired. He had held on to a glimmer of hope because Not was one of the best pure-blood families to marry into. He had money, power, and strength. So what was Uncle Cygnus thinking? Giving up a great marriage partner to marry Traverse? Did a troll eat his brain? I really doubt what the point of such a marriage is, to ensure a pure-blooded offspring with impaired intelligence. Regulus gave a sarcastic smile. Dear Lear, I'm so glad you think so. I just hate Traverse, that's all. But you're no longer the same as before, are you? Sirius persisted. He could feel that Regulus's deep-rooted thoughts were beginning to waver. Don't worry, I won't have any thoughts if you marry Traverse. Regulus couldn't stand it anymore. Maybe. Sirius disagreed. Walburga was not like Sinus. He knew that Walburga had great expectations of him even though he had been resisting her all these years. Walburga would not let him marry someone casually, but Walburga's words did not count in this matter. So, you mean Andy will definitely be with that stranger? After a long time, Regulus figured out Sirius's reaction. If Andy really wouldn't give up that person, then he could only. It won't be Traverse anyway. If that was the case, does Bella know? Regulus asked again. If he didn't know, he could explain it as they were just cousins and he was young so generally no one would tell him, but Bella would not be kept in the dark for long. Bella? Are you saying that you want to let Bella know about this and use her to break up the engagement? That's right. Regulus almost applauded his brother for his cleverness. He still had some brains. Sirius thought about it and realized that it was true. Bella always looked down on people without strength, especially this person was Cole Traverse, her sister's marriage partner. With Bella's madness, as long as Andy showed her unwillingness, Bella might not pursue other things too much. Based on the relationship between Bella and the other three sisters, as long as they knew about this, the engagement would not be successful. It's no wonder they are so confident about this. Bella doesn't like Malfoy, but Cecilia does. She has never said anything about Malfoy in front of Cecilia, but Travers is different. They have heard Bella scold this fool who insulted the pureblood more than once. Sirius was looking forward to seeing that scene. Now as long as Andy agreed to the plan, what happened next would have nothing to do with them. How can you be sure that Andy will do what we want? To be honest, Sirius wanted Andy to be happy. Oh, she is a black. Regulus curled up the corners of his mouth. Black would not refuse something that was beneficial to him. Chapter 16. Then let's go find Andy now. Come on, Sirius, didn't I tell you that we don't have a good reason right now? Regulus was almost amused by the anger. Why don't you consider writing a letter? Sirius really didn't understand Regulus's thoughts. Why did he need a reason? Why did he need a reason to do something he wanted to do? Seeing that Sirius still looked confused, Regulus sighed and began to explain. Think about when was the last time you saw Andy and the others? At the family banquet. Okay, I'm glad you still remember. Then do you know why we can only meet at family banquets? Merlin, don't tell me you really don't know. Sirius used a long silence to show that he really didn't know. That's because Sinus has always wanted to have the say. Otherwise, why would he get involved with Travers? Sirius, who was yelled at by his younger brother, gradually understood. He had never cared about these things before, but he didn't expect there were so many reasons. Don't tell me you don't care about anything. What you don't care about is what many people want all the time. Family, status, money. Sirius, please use your brain. I'm not. I just... Sirius had to admit that he was not as perceptive as Regulus in this regard, but that didn't mean he didn't know. He really didn't care, but his intuition told him that now was not a good time to explain. Okay, then Lear, the next step is to write a letter to Andy. Yes, yes. If you are willing to listen to me, then make an appointment with Andy to meet at Diagon Alley. The reason is to invite her to help you pick out things for the start of school. Please, I know you are ready. I am just checking. Regulus left Sirius' room after saying write the letter quickly. He felt that if he stayed any longer, he would be the first little wizard to be angered to death by his brother. Dear Andy. We are going to Hogwarts soon. Can I ask you to go to Diagon Alley to help me buy some more things? Lear can't wait to go to Hogwarts. He said he also wants to prepare in advance. Lear and I are looking forward to meeting you. Love you, Sirius. After the owl delivered the letter, Sirius lay on the bed, quietly thinking about his life over the past few days. First, he spent 2 unforgettable days and nights at the Hope's house, and almost hurt Sylvia. Fortunately, Sylvia was fine, otherwise he would really be too embarrassed to play with them again. The next day he went to the Muggles, which was an experience he had never had before. He even discovered Andy's secret. He hoped that things could be resolved smoothly. He didn't want Andy to be punished by Cygnus again. Yes, Cygnus was just like Walburga, maybe even crazier than Walburga. He thought of Cygnus's crazy expression and vicious curses when Bella and Andy tried to resist. If Bella's magic power had not been so much stronger than Sinus's, and if she had not seriously injured Sinus during her second resistance, the situation would probably be difficult to resolve now. That's right, Cygnus didn't want his daughter to be much stronger than him and gradually take over his power, so when Travers offered to help him get rid of Bella, he decisively chose to give up Not and sold his second daughter to Travers instead. Soon, the owl brought the letter. As expected, Andy agreed, and Sirius hurried to Regulus' room. If Regulus hadn't insisted on telling Walburga, they would have arrived earlier. Sirius thought silently while sitting in the coffee shop in Diagon Alley. He didn't pay attention to the conversation between Regulus and Andromeda. What? He's a Muggle-born. Regulus's suddenly louder voice pulled Sirius back to his original thoughts, and he fixed his eyes on the table where the conversation was taking place. Yes, don't be like this, Lear. Andromeda showed a pleading look. I know what you are thinking, but Ted is very good to me. Don't include me in this, Sirius took the opportunity to say. He listened roughly and found no problem. The only problem was that Regulus was dissatisfied with the man's background. What about Not? Your previous engagement? Regulus was still trying to change his cousin's mind. Oh, Not? Don't you know? He married another pure-blood lady. To be honest, before meeting Ted, Andromeda had always recognized Not, and she was not opposed to this marriage, but she met Ted Tonks. Just when she was struggling with how to ask Not to cancel the engagement, she was pleasantly surprised to find that he seemed to have met someone he liked. In this way, the two of them successfully cancelled the engagement, and Not was with that lady as he wished. I know I'm selfish, but I really can't stay there any longer. Andromeda hesitated for a long time before she spoke to the two brothers who had always cared about her. These days, she had been wondering if she really needed to stay in the Black family. A relationship that was destined not to be blessed, and a future that would definitely be blocked. Oh, it's nothing. It's all sinus. If it weren't for him, you wouldn't have been involved with that traverse, but, have you really thought it through? Leaving the Black family. Regulus thought that only Cygnus and Traverse would be satisfied with this marriage, but after hearing leave the Black family, he showed his disapproval. Leaving the Blacks? What if that Tonks, sorry I don't remember his name, treats you badly? Have you thought about that, Andy? Don't worry, Rail. Seeing that Andromeda still looked unmoved, Regulus turned his head away and no longer looked into her eyes. I agree with your idea, but if that gentleman has any thoughts of regretting, please tell me. Sirius winked at Andromeda to ease the atmosphere. I contacted Ted after Bella found out, and he supported my idea. I just didn't expect you to let me use Bella as an excuse to break off the engagement. Andromeda relaxed after hearing what Sirius said. We were originally planning to leave directly. I really appreciate your help. Lear, thank you for thinking so much about me. Sirius raised his eyebrows. He thought that maybe Lear and Andy talked a lot while he was distracted. It's nothing, Andy. Regulus lowered his head and said with an imperceptible sob, but if he treats you badly, I won't care anymore. Andromeda smiled when she heard this. Okay, my little brother Lear, don't worry, if it really happens I will be the first one to get rid of him. It better be this way. The three siblings chatted for a long time outside the coffee shop. They did not forget the reason for going out, so after buying a book, they went to the Leaky Cauldron. Standing in front of the fireplace, Andromeda hugged the two brothers separately. She told them to protect themselves and not to blindly resist before they had absolute power. She specifically pointed out Sirius, the troublesome young Master Black. She also asked them to minimize contact with her. She said she would take care of everything, and they didn't need to worry about the rest. Just like that, they returned to where they were supposed to go. As night fell, Regulus lay in his bed, still a little angry. He still couldn't accept that his sister Andromeda was with a Muggle-born. Regulus turned over and buried half of his face in the pillow, still emitting some resentment. He thought angrily that if Tonks treated Andy badly, he would not help her anymore. But when Regulus thought of the smile that appeared on Andy's face unconsciously when she talked about Tonks, he still sincerely hoped that Andy could be happy and that everything she wished for could come true. Chapter 17. September St. Hops's third floor. Andric, hurry up. We're going to miss out. Sylvia pushed open Andric's door without any hesitation. She kept tapping the pointer of the small alarm clock on her left hand with her right hand. Give me 5 more minutes. The person being urged was still trying to close the messy suitcase, but it was so messy that he failed after trying for a long time. Yes, that's right. If you hadn't made us wait for 3.5 minutes, we should have met up with James 10 minutes ago. Sylvia pointed out the problem sharply. Ignoring the other party's wailing, she said, if you had a brain, you would fold your clothes instead of rolling them up. That's a good idea. You're so smart, Sylvia. Could you please help me? Andric looked pleadingly, trying to awaken the last bit of family affection. Unfortunately, he failed. Ha, if that's cleverness, a troll could go to school for you, so I won't help you. Prove yourself, Andric. You don't want to admit you're a troll. After saying that, Sylvia ignored the man who was obviously planning to close the box by brute force. She turned and walked downstairs. Mom, can't we really just leave Andric behind and go now? I'm sorry, my baby. Anna stroked Sylvia's hair. I don't want to come back to see a ruined home, if we really do that. You can't do this. I mean I won't turn our home into ruins. As Andric hurriedly ran down with his suitcase, he heard his sister and mother's undisguised malice towards him. Yes, it was malice, Andric said indignantly, and I'm already well. I promise I won't delay anything. I swear. Lawrence took the box from Andric and said, Really? Where's your Archie? Merlin's pants, I forgot about Archie. Seeing Andric's flustered look, Lawrence said, Andric, your mother and I hope you can learn to manage your time and organize your things. Don't worry, Archie and Hess are out. Surprised by his son's poor condition, Lawrence told Andric, okay, it's time for us to leave. The Potters are ready. Platform 9 3/4. When she just arrived at the platform, Sylvia noticed that a pair of sisters were arguing. The older one had been resisting the touch of her younger sister. Not knowing what stimulated her, the girl said, "Become a monster." After saying this, the other girl in the conversation ran to her parents, leaving her standing there alone. "Oh, I'm sorry I heard your conversation. But I don't think we are monsters. If I have to say, I think my brother is the monster." Thinking of Andric's usual appearance, Sylvia wrinkled her nose. But the screaming girl was obviously not happy to hear her words. She said in a shrill voice, "Who are you? Why are you eavesdropping on us? A troll? Too bad you have a monster family too. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Sylvia Hobbs. Maybe your voices are too loud. I noticed that many people are looking over here." She saw the redness of young Penny Evans gradually spread from her ears to her face as she looked at the people around her. "Is my voice really that loud? It doesn't matter." Sylvia shook her head. She knew what had happened. Lily and Snape had secretly read the letter that Petunia had written to Dumbledore, and were discovered by Petunia. Children of this age always have the strongest self-esteem and are full of fantasies. Everyone hopes to be the most special person, Sylvia is no exception. She is not surprised that Petunia wrote a letter to Dumbledore. Let's put it this way, who wouldn't want to receive a letter from Hogwarts in their previous life? Every birthday, someone will say on various platforms, "I didn't wait for the owl to deliver the letter this year." The same is true for Penny. She may not be hit by the rejection, but she is angry because her most private things are ruthlessly exposed by others. It's like a diary, no one wants it to be discovered. Many people will not reveal their true thoughts when writing a diary because they know that it will always be read by people with no sense of boundaries. This is why she has seen many people in her previous life saying that they are deceiving even when writing a diary. She understood Penny Evans' current mood, so she walked up to Penny. Besides, no one wants to be called a monster, right? Except for Andric, of course, who really is a troll, and James, because he's late too. It may be offensive, but are you guys fighting? Yes, that's right, you are also a weird wizard. Penny immediately changed her words before she uttered the word. She didn't want to be considered an uneducated child, even though she had just said a lot of bad words loudly. If you mean going to Hogwarts, I guess I am, as are our whole family. My, you have no idea what it's like to have a wizard in a family of, well, what do you call us non-magic people? Indeed, but families like ours occasionally have people who can't do magic. We call them squibs, but many families are unwilling to admit that there are such people. They think it's a stain. Sylvia demonstrated the attitude of a pure-blood family towards squibs, and received a surprised expression from the other party. "Oh, by the way, my name is Penny Evans." It took Penny a long time to remember that she forgot to tell the other person her name. Thinking of what the other person just said, she said, "Then I think it's good to have no magic. Of course, I always think that muggles, our name for people who can't do magic, are really smart. Last time I had the most delicious food. Hamburgers and Coke." Sylvia often felt that she could perfectly perform how to be a person who had never been in contact with the Muggle world, and she was not exaggerating. Muggles now have very advanced weapons and electronic devices. Only Merlin knows how much she wants to watch TV. So it's not a big deal to praise herself for being a Muggle in her previous life, Sylvia thought to herself. Ha 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 ha. Penny laughed so hard after hearing what Sylvia said. "Are you talking about hamburgers and Coke? Do you think these are the most delicious?" Penny no longer envies wizards at all. In her eyes, wizards are just a group of pitiful creatures who have never seen the world. "Sylvia, we have to go in quickly." Andric and the Hopes in the distance shouted to Sylvia after waiting for the Porter family to arrive. "Okay, Penny, I'm leaving now. It's been nice chatting with you. I hope I can chat with you again next time. I really want to have a friend who knows enough about the Muggle world." The current Penny is not as sarcastic and mean as in the original book. She is just a little girl whose letter was read, right? Sylvia always has infinite tolerance for girls. Oh. Penny showed a disappointed look. She really liked this pretty girl who spoke very interestingly. "I also want to continue chatting with you, but Hey, do you want to come inside the platform with me? We don't have permission today for young wizarding families from Muggle families to come in. Really? I mean, is it okay? As expected, Penny was moved. She thought that she was not so averse to magic after all. Of course. Sylvia took Penny's hand and ran to her parents. Let's go find my parents first. Chapter 18. Sylvia took Penny Evans to her parents and introduced her family to her. This is the troll I mentioned, Andric, my twin brother, and him, James, the other troll. Hey, we're not. Andric and James retorted in unison. See, some troll chemistry, SIA whispered to Penny. After repeated urging from Lawrence and Anna, they were finally about to enter the station. James thanked Merlin and said that if they didn't go in, they would miss the train. However, the Potters ruthlessly rebuked him, if you weren't 10 minutes late, I think you would have made it in time. By the way, Penny, where are your parents? Anna looked at Penny, who was alone. She had no worries about her daughter's ability to make friends, but she couldn't just take another girl away. Mrs. Hobbs, my parents sent my sister away, and I chose to stay outside on my own. Penny still found it difficult to speak when she said the word sister. She still didn't want to forgive Lily, even though she no longer had such a strong desire to become a wizard, unless Lily could apologize to her. Oh, it's very dangerous to stay outside by yourself, Penny. Anna spoke gently. She said to Penny, who was a little awkward, if you don't mind, you can go in with us. Muggles cannot leave the station before the train leaves. Don't worry about not being able to find your parents. Mom. Sylvia stretched out her tone, Penny has promised me. She will go in with us. Shia, I know, but have you ever thought that if you take Petunia away she might get separated from her parents? If there weren't restrictions that Muggles can't leave before the train leaves. Anna was really troubled. Why were these two children so troublesome? One would kidnap other people's children at will, and the other would go out to play with others at will. Thinking about Andric's personality, she said without exaggeration that he and James would become the students that gave the teacher the most headaches. Well, maybe Sirius would be included. Merlin, I didn't think of that. Sorry, Penny. Sylvia realized the problem only after she heard what Anna said. Penny shook her head. She didn't care about it because she really wanted to go in and take a look. Her self-esteem made her not want to go in with Lily at all. Now there was an opportunity in front of her, how could she miss it? Hi, Sirius! Sylvia and the other two shouted at the figure in front of them. Hearing someone calling him, the owner of the back figure turned around. His expressionless face put on a smile when he saw the other people. His eyebrows and eyes were filled with joy that could not be concealed. He strode towards the direction of the voice and said in a unique boyish voice, "Long time no see, I was just looking for you." Sylvia kept complaining about Andric and James being late, and Sirius laughed. He said that he would not have come too early, but he could not resist Regulus's excitement and Walburga's constant urging. By the way, where's Regulus? He was taken somewhere else by Walburga. I guess it's just a hypocritical connection between some pure-blood families. Sirius sneered at this. He didn't know what Regulus was thinking, but he hated these things anyway. That's too bad. Andric and James showed sympathetic eyes. They wanted to show off their new identity to their dear little Regulus, but it seemed that they had no chance. Then they put their arms around Sirius' shoulders and walked forward. Before leaving, they told Sylvia to get on the bus directly, and they would help with the luggage. Don't forget to sit in the same compartment. Shia had no objection to this. The Hopes and the Potters also met their friends and were chatting not far away. Now only Shia and Penny were standing here. After checking her pocket watch, Sylvia said, "Let's go find your parents. The bus leaves in 10 minutes. Don't worry, if we can't find them, I'll take you to your mom." Penny was obviously still immersed in the shock of coming through the wall and Sirius's amazing appearance. She let Sylvia pull her and took a long time to react. Oh my god, that boy just now was so handsome. I mean, I have never met such a handsome boy. Penny felt like a nympho after she finished speaking, and she hurriedly explained. Sylvia thought about the first time she met Sirius. After sharing this with Penny, the two girls thought that the problem was not with them, but that Sirius did have the ability to attract people's attention. Sylvia exclaimed, "They just like to admire some handsome men and beautiful women. What's wrong with them?" Penny. The girl with fiery red hair was surprised when she saw her sister. She ran towards her. "Great, are you willing to come and see me off? Can you forgive me? Sylvia could clearly feel that Lily's emotions instantly rose when she saw Petunia, and her red hair suddenly seemed to come alive. Penny still stubbornly refused to look at her sister. She looked everywhere except at her sister. Lily knew she was angry. She tried to reconcile but failed. Her bright emerald eyes dimmed. I know you won't forgive me, Penny. I will write to you. Please write back, okay? I can't live without you. Please. At Lily's plea of please, Penny's expression relaxed. She glanced at Lily quickly and then looked somewhere else, still with her chin raised. She nodded gently, and if someone hadn't been watching her, no one would have noticed her movement. Fortunately, Lily saw it. That's great. Lily briefly obtained Penny's forgiveness. After letting go of her worries, she noticed the girl standing next to Penny and smiled brightly. Are you Penny's new friend? I'm Lily Evans, Penny's sister. Sylvia was conquered by Lily's smile. She finally understood why James fell in love with this girl. But James Potter, why should he? Sylvia has always been criticizing James Potter, but that doesn't stop her from saying it again. Why does James Potter do that? After all, judging from her experiences since childhood, James is indeed a very, very naughty person, especially when he and Andric tease her together. She thought, if James asked her to help him pursue Lily in the future, she would not help him, because boys always have to grow up, right? She would not say that she envied James. Sylvia felt her sleeve being tugged, and turned around to see Penny's nervous expression. Sylvia understood that Penny was worried that she would be attracted to Lily and stop playing with her. She first patted Penny's hand that was pulling her sleeve, then shook Lily's outstretched hand and said, Hello Lily, Penny and I just met outside the station. I'm Sylvia Hobbs. Then, she leaned close to Penny's ear and said, Don't worry, Penny, I'm not fascinated by her. Believe me, I have my own rhythm. Sylvia feels that she is a master of keeping things balanced, and every girl is her wing. Penny was frightened by Sylvia's sudden action, and her ears were still itchy from when Sylvia leaned in to talk. She was just worried that Sylvia would miss the train because she heard the Hobbs couple coming over to urge her. So what was the rhythm that Sylvia was talking about? Mr. and Mrs. Hobbs came to them when Sylvia finished speaking. Sylvia hugged her parents. Although she was looking forward to going to Hogwarts, she was still reluctant to leave. She held back the tears that were about to flow and left her parents' arms. She thought of something and said to Petunia, When Lily writes to you, can I write to you too? Penny then smiled happily. Although she was not a pretty girl in the eyes of the public like her sister, every girl had her own characteristics. Sylvia believed that those who thought Penny was not pretty were simply short-sighted. Sylvia, who had been urged, had to get on the train. The moment she jumped on the train, Sylvia heard Penny say, Of course, I look forward to hearing from you, Sylvia. Just call me SIA, Penny. See you next time. Then the steam covered everyone's expression. Before the car door closed, Sylvia found her parents and waved to them. Oh, Mom and Dad, I will write to you today. The scene outside was moving quickly. Lily got on the car with her and was now standing beside her. Even though Sylvia knew that Lily would look for Snape, she still invited the girl in front of her to their box. Thank you, Sylvia, but I have to go find my friend first. Lily smiled apologetically, but she promised Sylvia that she would go find her. The two of them separated briefly to look for the people they were looking for. Chapter 19. Sylvia successfully found the box where Andric and the others were. When she pushed the door open, the boys had just packed up all their things. Sylvia sat next to Andric and listened to them discussing the evening's sorting. Although everyone had discussed what college they wanted to go to before, who would be bored with this topic before the sorting? My father said that sorting is to make us fight trolls. James suddenly changed the topic about the college and led the conversation to how to sort the houses. Bella told us before that she was dueling with a giant squid. Sirius frowned when he heard what James said. Although Bella is not in a good state now, she doesn't look like someone who would play with children. Maybe the duels are different every year? Maybe this year it's a theoretical test. Andric put forward his own idea, but his words theoretical test scared the other little wizards present except Sylvia, actually James, and Sirius. Merlin bless you, I hope not, I haven't read much. Cried James. Sirius also looked worried, and Shia couldn't help but laugh at their reactions. Before the boy who was being laughed at could ask Sylvia why she was laughing, he heard a rhythmic knock on the door of their box, and the next second the door was pushed open. He was a boy who looked a little weak, with some faint marks of injury on his face, which were hard to see if you didn't look closely. He exuded a gentle temperament, and when he saw the people in the box looking at him, his light brown eyes were filled with embarrassment. "Sorry, there are no empty boxes outside." Being stared at by 4 people was not a good feeling. He looked even more nervous. "I mean, can I share a box with you guys?" Sylvia saw that after he finished speaking, the hand that he had not released after pushing the door open began to exert force again, and his already pale face looked even worse. "Of course, come in." James was an overly enthusiastic person. He patted the seat next to him and said, "Sit here. I'm James Potter. What's your name?" The boy's hand on the door suddenly loosened. He exhaled lightly, but did not completely relax. "Hello, James. My name is Remus Lupin." Remus obediently sat down next to James. He spoke carefully, "Oh, I didn't expect there were 4 people in the box." Feeling that it was a bit strange for him to say that, he explained, "Well, I was listening outside for a while. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to eavesdrop on your conversation. I only heard 3 voices, and I thought there was extra space. The other boxes were reluctant to have another person." "It's okay. Although the box usually seats 4 people, it doesn't matter if there is one more person." Andric didn't care how many people were sitting in the box. "I'm Andric Hops, you can call me Andric. Next to me is my sister, Sylvia Hops." Sylvia nodded as a greeting, "I'm Sylvia Hops. If you're surrounded by 3 noisy guys, you won't want to talk." Sylvia understood what Remus meant, and she agreed with Andric's opinion. Sirius, who was sitting next to James, thought so too. If others had no objection, he would not have one either. He never cared about these little things. Sirius Black. Remus looked grateful when he heard their words, and he thought he was really starting to look forward to life at Hogwarts. "Freshman, follow me over here. We'll take the boat in. No more than 4 people allowed." Sylvia and the others, who had already changed into wizard robes, looked at the tall figure standing at the front of the team and exclaimed in amazement. "I bet he has giant blood." James swore. It was the first time he had seen a giant. Andric also opened his mouth wide. Hogwarts really has everything. He felt that he would not be surprised even if there was a troll. "Hey, did you hear that? No more than 4 people can sit together. Oh, let's go find another boat." Andric came out of his surprise at seeing the giant. Although he wanted to sit with James and the others, he had said before that he would not leave Sylvia alone. After saying hello to his good friends, he took Sylvia and walked in another direction. "See you at the sorting, then." Sylvia had no objection. She knew that Andric would be with her. Not to mention that the twins had basically never been separated except for that time in Diagon Alley. Their parents also told them to take care of each other before school started. Lily. Sylvia saw the beautiful girl with fiery red hair when she and Andric were looking for a boat to take. "Can we join you?" Sylvia noticed Snape, who was always by Lily's side, and she symbolically asked for Snape's opinion, but of course the most important thing was Lily's opinion. There was no doubt that she received Lily's enthusiastic response, and Sylvia jumped into the boat and sat next to Lily. Snape looked at the seat that was squeezed out by the girl with silver hair, his expression darkened and he sat silently opposite Lily. After meeting Lily and Snape, Andric tried to talk to Snape, but the man remained silent except for occasionally answering Lily's questions. He took the initiative to find a few topics but was ignored by the other party without exception. Andric joined the girls' conversation. His joining obviously created a barrier between the 4 people, isolating Snape. Lily had thought about asking Snape to join in, but she gave up after seeing that he had no interest in the topic they were talking about. However, when Sylvia proposed to go to the same college with Lily, Snape said to Lily, "We'd better go to Slytherin." "I didn't expect that the topic about the college with James and others in the original book would happen here," Sylvia secretly complained. Sylvia didn't say anything and Andric didn't care where others went, especially this guy who had eyes for no one else but Lily. The boat swayed to the shore, and Hagrid, the giant who led the way, went to the other side after sending all the freshmen to the castle. The excited little wizards were chattering away, and the topic was nothing more than the academy and its branches. Yes, sorting. Sylvia's excitement reached its peak at this moment. She had always wanted to know which college she would go to. The answers from the sorting hat and her own tests always gave her different feelings. Hogwarts welcomes everyone. A slightly serious voice appeared above them. It was Professor McGonagall, and Thea looked at the witch standing at the top of the steps. I'm Minerva McGonagall, you can call me Professor McGonagall. The noisy little wizards finally quieted down. I will take you to the auditorium for sorting. We will be divided into 4 colleges. As usual, Professor McGonagall would give a brief introduction to each college before the freshmen were sorted. The young wizards from wizard families knew about each college, while the young wizards from Muggle families knew this information from the books they had bought in advance and from their new friends on the train. But apart from Professor McGonagall, who will give the most official and fair introduction here, other ways of understanding are all somewhat emotional. Sylvia thought that Professor McGonagall made a special introduction here, probably to allow the young wizards to find a college that better suits them. Of course, the Sorting Hat would respect the opinions of the young wizards themselves. Okay, now come with me to the auditorium. Professor McGonagall led the curious little wizards who were whispering and starting from the introduction of the colleges to the direction of the auditorium. Like most freshmen, Sylvia was looking around and admiring the ancient castle. She noticed that Sirius was silent. Even he was looking around, but he couldn't hide the emotion in his eyes. Sirius? Are you nervous about the sorting? I was just wondering which house I would go to. You know my whole family is Slytherin. Sirius answered Sylvia's concerned question. It was her fault. She had always known from a god's perspective that Sirius would be sorted into Gryffindor, but she forgot that Sirius himself was not aware of it and was anxious about it. But she couldn't tell him directly that he would be sorted into Gryffindor, so she chose a compromise. It doesn't matter, maybe I will be sorted into Slytherin, or maybe we will both be sorted into Slytherin. And you know, the college won't change the fact that we will always be friends. Sylvia's words relieved the pressure on Sirius. He fixed his gaze on her. Her beautiful blue eyes were full of sincerity. Being looked at by such eyes, Sirius felt like retreating for the first time. He lagged behind Sylvia by half a step and said in a voice that only the two of them could share, "Well, you're right. I shouldn't worry about this." The next second, the door of the auditorium opened. Chapter 20. What caught my eye were the students sitting around 4 long tables according to their colleges, with thousands of lit candles floating above their heads. There was another long table on the platform at the front of the auditorium, where the professors sat. The most eye-catching thing was the ceiling of the auditorium, which was enchanted and looked like the sky outside, twinkling with stars. The students from each college put down their food the moment the auditorium door opened, and they all turned their heads to look at the freshmen standing in line. No matter when, the division is the most attractive, whether it is your own division or watching others' division. Professor McGonagall, who had already walked to the head guest seat, cleared her throat and said, "Now I will sort the houses in order. Put on the sorting hat and it will make the choice." The sorting hat mentioned by Professor McGonagall was placed on a 4-cornered stool. It looked tattered, dirty, and full of patches. There was a crack on the brim of the hat, and then the crack slowly opened, like a mouth, and it sang loudly. "Once I was a brand new hat. Now I'm tattered. But please don't judge a book by its cover. I believe there is no better hat than mine. I am a thinking hat, I can see your thoughts. Don't be afraid, I will keep my mouth shut. I will give you the best choice. More than 1,000 years ago, I was woven by 4 great wizards. A brave Gryffindor. A gentle Hufflepuff. A witty Ravenclaw. A shrewd Slytherin. 4 great wizards whose names are still passed down to this day. If you're brave enough, you might be a Gryffindor. There are treasures buried deep in the heart. If you're honest and loyal, you might belong in Hufflepuff. There is diligence and hard work. If you want knowledge, you should go to Ravenclaw. There are extraordinary talents and profound knowledge. If you want power, you go to Slytherin. There are countless ambitions and paths to success. Where me? I will give you the best answer. 4 colleges, closely integrated. We are from Hogwarts." After the sorting hat finished singing the song it composed, a wizard in a purple robe with stars on it led the applause, and the students and teachers also applauded. The song sung by the sorting hat was not very good, but no one would refuse to give their applause to a talking hat. "This is so cool, a hat. It can talk." James has a strong curiosity about all new things. How did he sort the houses? Legitimate. The last bit of applause died down, and Professor McGonagall took a long piece of brown paper and began to sort the first little wizard. Students from each college burst into enthusiastic cheers when welcoming the new students. Among Sylvia and her friends, the first one to be sorted was Sirius. When the sorting hat called out Sirius Black, she felt that her friends around her began to get nervous for him. Sirius sat on the stool. He did not cause much trouble to the sorting hat. Less than a minute later, he heard the sorting hat loudly shouting, "Gryffindor!" The students sitting at the long table were a little dazed. "A Gryffindor from Black?" After a brief moment of surprise, the Gryffindors stood up one after another. They didn't care about it and cheered for Sirius. Sirius stood on the stage and looked at his friends below. Everyone was happy for him. His eyes met with Sylvia's. Sirius couldn't help but smile with his sunny face. When he walked past his friends, James was still excitedly saying, "Brother, that's cool." Andric and Sirius bumped fists. Remus, who was standing next to him, was much more low-key. He just said, "I'm so happy for you, Sirius." The Slytherin table had a completely different reaction from this side. They had not yet recovered from the shock, especially a witch with light blonde hair. She frowned and looked in the direction of Gryffindor, wondering what she was thinking. Andric hops. A few more people passed by, and now it was Andric's turn. He was also sitting on a high chair, with a white hat brim covering half of his face. Hops, it said. You have the courage and freedom of a Gryffindor, but your unique personality tells me that you are also suitable for Slytherin. Let me think about where you are going. You want to be with your friends? Then. Gryffindor. Andric ran down and sat next to Sirius. The active Gryffindors at the long table came over to greet him and welcome his arrival. Lily, who had been sitting at the Gryffindor table, also smiled at Andric and raised her pumpkin juice glass to clink with him. Sylvia hops. Sylvia was still immersed in the joy for Andric, but she didn't expect to hear Professor McGonagall calling her name the next second. She quickly walked to the sorting hat and put it on her head. With her vision blocked, Sylvia could feel the cold feeling brought by the sorting hat when it felt her thoughts. Another hops. Like that boy, you have the courage that Gryffindor admires, but Hufflepuff will like you very much too. Sylvia didn't expect that she would be recognized by two colleges. I want to go to Gryffindor. My friends are there. Of course, friends are also what Gryffindor values. Go, Gryffindor will help you realize your wish. My wish? Sylvia confirmed that she was not thinking about anything else at the time. Maybe the sorting hat, which was endowed with the magic power of the four greatest wizards, saw her origins? Or did it see through her soul and see that she wanted to change James and their future? She took off her hat and thought a lot. Even though many thoughts flashed through her mind, only a few seconds passed. She looked at the group of people she had just thought of, and every face was filled with joy. When she saw Sirius, he mouthed something to her, and she knew he was saying great. Sirius, who was sitting below, was obviously more excited when he heard that Sylvia had also come to Gryffindor. He could not restrain his joy. He meant that he and Andric and Sylvia and James, who would definitely come to Gryffindor, were together again. He just didn't know where Remus would go. He liked him very much. Thank you, Mr. Sorting Hat, said Sia as she put the sorting hat back in its place. The tip of the hat that had been standing upright shook, and the hat body twisted to show her good mood at the moment. She also expressed her gratitude to Professor McGonagall who had been standing next to her, and the capable witch nodded. The silver-haired girl ran over to Lily happily and hugged her arm affectionately. As expected, James and Remus were successfully sorted into the same house. The four boys gathered together to share what the sorting hat said to them. Snape went to Slytherin as he wished. He was happy at first, but when he saw Lily in the distance, he was not so happy anymore. Lily noticed the gaze and met Snape's eyes. She shook her head to indicate that she was fine and didn't want to make the other person sad. Snape lowered his head and finally walked in the opposite direction, but the sad mood had mostly dissipated when he sat down at the Slytherin table. This was the Hogwarts he had always longed for and also the Slytherin he had always desired. After the long sorting, the wizard in the purple wizard robe stood up again. He touched his beard, the long white beard was groomed with the same purple ribbon, and bows were tied on it one after another. What a novel style, Sylvia exclaimed. I am the headmaster of Hogwarts, Albus Dumbledore. First of all, congratulations to everyone on coming to Hogwarts, both new and old students. His nose was a little crooked, and his glasses were tilted. He blinked and continued, this is Professor Slughorn, who teaches potions. The professors who were introduced stood up one by one, holding up their cups to signal to the students. After a few times, Sylvia had already drunk a lot of pumpkin juice. She felt that she had to drink less. The dinner hadn't officially started yet, and she couldn't miss the delicious food because of drinking pumpkin juice, even though pumpkin juice was really delicious. All right. Dumbledore took control of the situation after introducing every professor present. Now it's time for our favorite school song. Everyone can choose their favorite tune to sing. All of a sudden, all kinds of strange tunes appeared around Sylvia, and she chose to recite because she really didn't know what tune to choose. After the last student sang the school song, Dumbledore happily announced the start of the dinner. A variety of foods appeared on the long table that originally only had pumpkin juice. It was a sumptuous dinner. Thinking of what the Sorting Hat had said just now, he looked at Dumbledore who was sitting in the middle of it. Dumbledore, who noticed his gaze, looked at Sylvia and raised his glass to her. Sylvia also quickly picked up her glass and returned the toast. Now the prefects are taking the freshmen back to the common room. The prefects who were given important responsibilities worked hard to complete their tasks, even though these freshmen were really noisy, especially the energetic young wizards from Gryffindor. Even the prefects from Gryffindor could not handle such overwhelming enthusiasm. After explaining the stairs in the castle, they turned around, dragging their tired bodies, not wanting to face this group of little wizards again. Be careful. Both of Sylvia's arms were pulled at the same time. Sylvia couldn't be blamed for not listening carefully to the prefects. She swore that she was just a step slower and almost tripped over the stairs. Fortunately, Andric was with her all the time, keeping an eye on her situation and holding her back in time. And on the other side. Thank you, Sirius. Sylvia gave Sirius a grateful smile. It's okay, just watch your step, Sylvia. Why don't you say thank you to me? Don't worry about it, Andric. We don't need to say thank you for our relationship. Looking at Sylvia's smiling face, Andric didn't say anything. He just wanted to choke Sylvia, but he really recognized her words. Their relationship really allowed him to ignore everything. 4 boys were lucky enough to be assigned to the same dormitory, and they were cheering enthusiastically. See you tomorrow morning. I hope you won't be late. I brought the pocket watch given by Uncle Lawrence, so don't worry. James vowed. Hey, I brought my stargazer too, we can look at the stars at night. Come on, Sirius. We have greater things to do. Ignoring these excited boys, Sylvia and her roommate Lily. Yes, they were in the same dormitory. Went back together. After writing down today's events on 2 full pages, Sylvia folded the papers and put them in an envelope, deciding to get up early tomorrow to mail them to her parents. She did not forget what she had promised Penny. After getting Lily's consent, she would go with Lily to mail the 2 letters that belonged to Penny tomorrow. Good night, Lily, Mary, Marlene. Good night, SIA. The moon shone through the glass and into the house, and Sylvia slowly fell asleep in this soft moonlight. Chapter 21. The first class on Monday morning was Professor McGonagall's Transfiguration class. This series which left a deep impression on the first-year wizards. Lily and her classmates did not dare to make any mistakes in Professor McGonagall's class, especially since this was also their first class at Hogwarts. They would not be late. Sylvia, are you awake? Lily opened her eyes at 7:30. She tidied everything and stood beside Sylvia's bed, gently asking her friend. The answer was from Sylvia's still confused voice. Not long after Lily got up, Sylvia also woke up. But waking up and getting up were 2 different things. Sylvia liked the feeling of lying in bed the most. Anna was also very troubled by this before coming to Hogwarts. She knew her little daughter's ability to lie in bed, and she specifically reminded Sylvia to pay attention to the time. Thinking of her mother's instructions, Sylvia became much more sober. She thought her mother didn't need to worry about her because Lily was a very serious, responsible, and studious roommate. She would not let Sylvia lie in bed all the time, especially when she had classes in the morning. When Sylvia opened the bed curtain, she saw Lily's bright face. She couldn't help but say, "You are so beautiful, Lily." Lily laughed at her words. "Well, I guess you should go wash up now? We still have to go to the Olary to deliver a letter." "You're right, I'll be there soon." Sylvia jumped out of bed and hurriedly began to pack the things she would need for the day. She didn't see any sadness on Lily's part after she left. Lily hid it very well, at least Sylvia didn't notice it after she came back. Mary and Marlene had no intention of sending a letter, so only Lily and Shia went to the Owl Wigwam. However, the closer they got to the owl wigwam, the quieter Lily became. After all, she was an 11-year-old girl, and no matter how hard she tried to hide her emotions, she would show them when they got close. Sylvia found that the arm she was holding Lily was getting stiffer and stiffer. "Are you okay, Lily? I wonder if Penny is still angry with me." Lily, who originally didn't want to tell anyone about this, couldn't help it. When she received Sylvia's concern, she blurted out everything. "I come from a Muggle family. When my parents found out I was a wizard they were so happy, and so was I. But we all forgot about Petunia's feelings. I'm really sorry." At this point, Lily could no longer control her emotions and tears gradually welled up in her eyes. This stubborn girl resisted the urge to cry and continued speaking while choking. She was afraid that if she stopped, she would not have the courage to talk about it again. "Sev, the one you met yesterday, he was the one who told me that I was a wizard, but he didn't like Penny, and Penny didn't like him either. I tried to make them friends, but Penny refused. Since I met Sev, Penny has rarely played with me." Thinking of Snape's attitude of not wanting strangers to bother her, Sylvia felt that Lily's request for them to be friends was really unreasonable, for both of them. But she wisely did not say anything. In the early stage, Lily had always had expectations for Snape, hoping that he would change. Sylvia felt that she should not interfere. "Later, I found out that Petunia also wanted to come to Hogwarts. She didn't hate magic. She wrote to Dumbledore, hoping to come." At this point, Sylvia couldn't help but interrupt Lily, "Did you peek at Petunia's letter and Snape?" Even though she knew about this, Sylvia was still a little angry when the person involved said it, and she pointed this out directly. "Yes, we read Petunia's letter. Professor Dumbledore refused, and Petunia was furious when she found out. We had a quarrel outside the platform, and she called me a freak." Lily admitted what she had done. Recalling the scenes outside the station, Lily still felt heartbroken. "I know I shouldn't have read her letter, but you watched it anyway, didn't you?" Sylvia really couldn't understand why Lily did this. She didn't know that little wizards were born with magic power, but didn't Snape know that? She explained to Lily about magic, and Lily's eyes widened. "I didn't know magic was something you were born with. I thought Petunia could come too." "Of course not. The Book of Admission will record all the young wizards born in the UK. When they reach the appropriate age, the professors will write letters." She looked at Lily's surprised expression and sighed, "But this is not a reason for you to read the letter. You even let Petunia know about it. Andric and I had a huge argument before, and we didn't speak to each other for 3 days. Although the Hopes twins always showed their dislike for each other in public, it was not difficult to see that they had a good relationship." Lily stopped her inner thoughts and listened carefully to Sylvia's story. "I don't really have any talent for painting, but I wanted to give my parents a painting on their birthdays. I thought I could get pretty good at it, and I even put those failed paintings at the back of the cabinet, but Andric still found them." "Did he laugh at you?" Lily said this with difficulty. She didn't dare to think about how sad she would be if it were her. "Oh, no, he didn't laugh at me, but he told Mom and Dad about the surprise I had prepared for them, even though my drawing wasn't pretty. I was mad when I found out. I said, 'You shouldn't have come into my room and found my paintings, these failures.' After I said that, Andric knew I was mad. He tried to apologize but I refused, and then he got mad too. We didn't talk for 3 days. What happened next?" "What happened?" Lily was a little anxious. She wanted to know what to do. She wanted to repair her relationship with Penny just like Andric and Sia. "Oh, it's not my fault. I have my reasons for refusing to talk to Andric. But he had to apologize to me, so he gave me all the treasures he had collected. He wrote a long apology letter and stopped me to read it to me. He promised to draw pictures for Mom and Dad with me every year. It turns out that his paintings are not as good as mine. And Mom and Dad think that our reconciliation is the best gift for them. I also told him that I wasn't mad at him for ruining my surprise. I was mad at him for disrespecting me by coming into my room and finding things I had hidden, and I felt like I had no privacy, even though it was our home and my room. Anyway, we made up, and Andric never came into my room without my permission again." Thinking of the night when he and James broke into the house through the window, Sylvia silently added, "Except that time," but Lily didn't hear it. "Is that so?" Lily thought about it carefully. She knew it was wrong to read Penny's letter, but she couldn't find a suitable way to make Penny forgive her. She was afraid that Penny would never talk to her again, even if she promised that she could write to her. Although Penny called her a freak, it was only after she had angered the other person. She also thought carefully about what she had said and found that she seemed to have never respected Penny's opinion. The joy after knowing that she wanted to enter Hogwarts washed away all her rationality. Was what she did really good for Penny? Especially after Penny was rejected, she kept mentioning it. Oh my god, what have I done? Lily, who had thought it through, clearly understood how much harm her actions had caused to Penny. She decided that it didn't matter if Penny didn't forgive her, because she had really gone too far, but she must express her apology to her sister. Seeing the red-haired witch regain her fighting spirit, Sylvia also laughed. Nothing was more joyful than seeing a confident and sunny beauty, especially when this person was a new friend. Chapter 22. Sitting at the Gryffindor table in the hall, Sylvia looked around for a long time but didn't see Andric and the others. She glanced at her pocket watch and could only hope that the boys wouldn't be late. Hey! Sylvia felt her shoulders being grabbed suddenly, and the sudden force made her body fall forward uncontrollably. James, I hope you can notice that your good friend's face is about to be pressed into the table by you. Sylvia struggled, but failed. James didn't know where he got the strength to restrain her, and he came close to her and whispered, "We have a great plan, do you want to come?" After hearing this, Sylvia stopped what she was doing and moved her head close to James's, muttering softly. "You mean tonight?" "Sure. Never mind, are you coming?" The silver-haired girl nodded with difficulty. She couldn't, or at least shouldn't, refuse such a tempting thing. The two of them high-fived in tacit understanding, and the three boys who followed behind all had expressions of understanding when they saw this. Apparently they had come to a deal, and James was the one to enforce it. Sirius took a step and sat horizontally behind James. He leaned on James' shoulder and looked at Sylvia in front of him. "So, you agree?" Lily was curious about what Sylvia and the others talked about. Sylvia was a little overwhelmed by the beautiful green eyes, but she thought that she couldn't lead a good student astray, so she gave Lily a mysterious smile and said, "A secret." "Okay, okay." Lily pretended to be dissatisfied and turned her head away, ignoring Sylvia. "It's a secret." Sylvia knew that Lily was just joking with her, but she still said some witty things to Lily for a while, making Lily laugh the whole time. Andric and Remus also sat down at this time. The four boys seemed to have endless things to say, and even their mouths full of food couldn't stop them. Having breakfast with good friends is a happy and joyful thing, but happy times are always short, and they have to leave the auditorium to go to class. "Come on Andric, it's Professor McGonagall's class today and you don't want to be late." Andric and his friends, who were still leisurely eating, were shocked to find that they still had classes to attend. "Merlin, I forgot that the first class is Transfiguration." The boys hurried to keep up with Sylvia, luckily they were not late. Looking at Lily who was sitting next to her and reading the textbook seriously, Sylvia couldn't help but sigh. She said that following Lily would help her develop good habits. Even in such a noisy environment, she could calm down as long as she sat next to Lily. But this thought did not last long. James, standing in the center of public attention, was performing his transfiguration spell, which was undoubtedly amazing for a young wizard who had not systematically learned magic. The Hufflepuff students were a very kind and supportive group of people, not to mention the Gryffindor students. The atmosphere brought by the students of the two colleges made James even more proud and he performed even harder. The cheers that came one after another gradually interrupted Lily and Sylvia's thoughts. Lily looked at the complacent James and frowned. "I wish Professor McGonagall wasn't here." Unfortunately, Professor McGonagall was there the whole time, but no one knew about it. She stole a glance at a tabby cat at the front of the classroom. "If this were between classes, I think I'd give Gryffindor 10 points, Mr. Potter." Shia, who witnessed Professor McGonagall's transformation back from an animagus, thought that she had witnessed another famous scene, but the protagonist had become Harry's father. "My pleasure, Professor McGonagall." James replied with a smile, and even made a funny gentleman's salute, obviously immersed in such compliments. "But this is my class now, so..." Professor McGonagall ignored James's antics and looked at the students in the classroom. "Go back to your seats, gentlemen and ladies." I have to say that Professor McGonagall was very scary when she had a stern face. The frightened Hufflepuffs and Gryffindors returned to their seats quietly, anxiously waiting for the trial from this serious witch. It was not until she walked to the front of the classroom again and began to explain the Transfiguration class that the little wizards breathed a sigh of relief and began to take notes. Anything else you want to ask? After introducing the main tasks of this class, Professor McGonagall routinely asked if there was anything else that anyone didn't understand. She looked around and saw a Hufflepuff student who was hesitating whether to raise his hand. Well, Professor McGonagall, how did you just turn back from a cat? I thought you had been watching Mr. Potter's magic without noticing. Professor McGonagall made a little joke, and of course she succeeded, at least with James. After she finished speaking, she showed her animagus again, which won cheers from the little wizards. This is so cool! James whistled. Andric also showed an expression that he wanted to learn. They looked at each other and immediately understood each other's meaning. Professor McGonagall probably knew what these troubled students were thinking, so she returned to her usual state and said, I suggest you don't try it lightly, especially the first-year wizards. After saying this, he glanced at James and Andric meaningfully and said, if you fail, you will never be able to change back. This sentence scared most of the young wizards present. No matter how much they liked it, they didn't dare to try it easily, except for some very brave ones. The day's classes passed quickly, and Sylvia and Lily packed up their herbology textbooks. Lily, do you want to go back to the common room with me? Sorry, Sylvia. Sif and I made an appointment to go to the library together. Lily adjusted the hair by her ears and said apologetically. Okay, then I'll go find Andric. After spotting Andric in the crowd, she waved to Lily and ran away. Andric. Sirius grabbed Andric in time, who was about to fall forward after being grabbed by the shoulders from behind. The latter looked surprised and said, You didn't go with Evans. He thought that Sylvia would go back with Lily Evans, so he left without telling Sylvia in advance. After listening to Sylvia's explanation, he showed an indescribable expression, of course, to Snape, but I'm still very curious about how Evans knew Snape. Merlin, when Andric thought of the embarrassing scene between him and Snape on the boat, his stomach ached and he didn't want to think about it anymore. You mean the Slytherin with the greasy hair and the big robes? James found the existence of such a person from his memory. Remus also remembered after hearing this description. He nodded and said, It seems that there is such a person, Severus Snape. Sirius didn't dwell on whether this person existed or not. It could be said that he only had impressions of people and things that he liked and was interested in, and he generally wouldn't bother to care about irrelevant people. We might as well go back and discuss our plans. Several people agreed with Sirius's words and quickly returned to the Gryffindor common room. Chapter 23. Are you sure we can do this? Even though the voice was lowered, it was still clear that it was a girl's voice that rang out in the empty corridor. Of course. A lively male voice replied, Oh, who stepped on my foot? Sorry James. Hey. Who bumped into my stomach? It was me, Sirius. But I have to say someone hit me in the face. So it was you I hit, Remus. Small problems kept happening to several people, but no one appeared in the corridor. After hearing such a terrible conversation, Sylvia couldn't help but worry whether their first night patrol would be successful. She was right to worry, because it's Mrs. Norris, keep your voice down. She lowered her voice again to remind the noisy people. The boys who had been playing stopped. They didn't dare to say another word and held their breath waiting for the cat to pass by them. The 5 people under the invisibility cloak looked at Mrs. Norris who was wandering in front of them, and nervously pinched their clothes. You're here, my Mrs. Norris. Let's go. We still have to look for those children who are running around and haven't slept yet. Filch came around the corner, picked up Mrs. Norris from the ground and left. Only when his figure disappeared around the corner at the end of the corridor did the few people finally relax. James grabbed the invisibility cloak and gasped for breath. The others also looked like they were suffocating. Oh my God, you should know that I was scared to death by Mrs. Norris. James, who had finally recovered, said with lingering fear. Sirius recalled how scared he was when he saw Mrs. Norris. Yes, I think we can all feel that it's always watching us. Stop talking, let's get out of here first. Fortunately, Filch didn't notice Mrs. Norris's abnormality, otherwise we would all be doomed. Let's leave before Filch reacts. It will be troublesome if he comes back. Andric agreed with Sylvia. He didn't think staying in one place was a wise choice. James, who had originally planned to take a good look around this floor, also began to think about what they said, and finally everyone agreed that it would be better to leave. Think about the Gryffindor gem, at least it is innocent. Remus' words were the real killer move to wake everyone up. So where is this place? Sylvia, who didn't have a very good sense of direction, jumped up and down with a few people for a while and spoke in a daze. You really can't blame her, the constantly changing staircases and dimly lit castle greatly reduced her already confused state of mind. I think this is the Hufflepuff common room. Sirius looked around and spoke with certainty. Then he saw Sylvia's gaze and couldn't help laughing. Why are you so surprised? I just have a good sense of direction. And that's the wooden barrel used to knock on the door of the Hufflepuff common room. No, you have more than just a good sense of direction. Sylvia said faintly, you can even see what's around you in such a dim environment. Can't you see? Sirius was a little surprised. He really didn't expect Sylvia couldn't see these. He thought it was quite bright, of course it couldn't be compared with daytime. Oh, Sylvia is a little night blind. James slapped his head and remembered something. Because she hates carrots, Andric added. I said, it has nothing to do with carrots. And I don't hate it, I just don't like it. Sylvia wanted to prove herself, but she could not stand up to the two people in front of her alone. You'd better follow us, Sylvia. Sirius said with some concern after hearing their conversation, there are quite a lot of stairs here, and they are always changing. Don't worry, I've been holding Remus' sleeve. Sylvia pointed at the sleeve of Remus that was a little deformed by her pulling, and said proudly. Andric's confusion was written all over his face. When did you two get together? While you were running forward excitedly. Sylvia folded her arms and snorted. She didn't expect the boys to behave like gentlemen during their night outing. Although she also wanted to run without any scruples like them, she was really afraid that she wouldn't be able to see the stairs or steps clearly. It would be too embarrassing to fall down. Besides, she was very afraid of pain. Only Remus. He almost tripped when he saw me. He almost fell down the stairs. Sylvia was a little scared when this was mentioned. She didn't want to say it at first, but since she was asked, she had to say it. Haha. James and the others laughed awkwardly. I thought you guys were following me. When people are embarrassed, they will make countless small movements in a minute, like now. James kept rubbing his hair and then adjusting his glasses. Andric looked up at the ceiling and then looked down at the floor. Look, this floor is too dull. Sirius touched the tip of his nose, lowered his head and didn't look into Remus and Thea's eyes. You can tell me then, look at Remus' clothes. And I'm your brother. Sylvia, who was outwitted, widened her blue eyes. What are you talking about? Andric. Andric, who just didn't want his sister to be too close to other boys, obviously got it wrong. He really shouldn't have said that. Everyone present didn't know what Andric was thinking, but they all agreed that this was a terrible move. Remus, who was at the center of the storm, felt a little overwhelmed. He looked at this and that and said hesitantly, I heard from my Hufflepuff classmates that the kitchen of Hogwarts is here. Do you want to take a look? Yes. The brother and sister, whose attention was immediately drawn, put aside their current hatred and showed some tacit understanding between twins. I remember Horner saying that if you tickle the pear on the fruit painting, it will smile and turn into a doorknob. Sylvia thought of what a kind Hufflepuff senior she met said when she complained to Lily regretfully about missing the pudding jelly for dinner. Wait, who is Horner? Andric felt dizzy. When did Merlin's sister know so many boys? Ignoring Andric's words, Sylvia walked in this direction, and then her arm was pulled. She looked over and found that it was Sirius. She tilted her head in confusion and heard him say, over here. Sylvia's face immediately turned red. Well, I just wanted to admire the painting. She made an awkward excuse and then stiffly left Sirius' sight. James had already found the painting and entered the kitchen smoothly. Sylvia followed their footsteps and hurriedly left this place where people had to crawl into the cracks in the ground first. She didn't see Sirius behind her, looking at the bare wall, covering his face with his hands and shrugging his shoulders, laughing. Even if she saw her, she might not know what the other person was laughing at, might not see that the other person was laughing at all, and might even ask the other person why he didn't catch up. Sirius' smile deepened when he thought of this. It was really, so cute. He thought he would never forget the way the girl tilted her head and looked at him in confusion under the flickering candlelight. Chapter 24. Nearly a week had passed since that night outing, and Sylvia had not gone on night outings with Andric and the others during this time. The reason was simple. It was just that she went back too late that day and was excited about her first night outing. Sylvia suffered from insomnia. When Lily called her in the morning, she was almost frightened by the dark circles under her eyes and the bloodshot in her eye sockets. It was too uncomfortable to force herself to stay awake to attend class. If Sylvia hadn't been worried about being discovered by the professor and having her Gryffindor gem taken away, she really wanted to fall asleep. Oh, that doesn't seem to work. Lily will wake her up. Merlin, I really have to resist the temptation to go out with them at night. It's good to experience this kind of thing once, too many times will really be unbearable. And let me say it again, no one will go against the school gems. This was the last thought of Sylvia when she fell asleep in the history of magic. Oh my god, Sia, what did you do yesterday? Facing Lily's eyes that were 3 parts condemnation and 4 parts worry, Sylvia couldn't help but feel guilty. It was so comfortable to sleep through the entire history of magic class. The sky outside was so blue, and her textbooks were also brand new. Sylvia, who had been planning to fool people, thought in despair that Lily would never show her the notes if she didn't tell the truth. Someone else? Who could take better notes than Lily? Sylvia hugged Lily's arm and said, "Oh, Andrik and I went on a night out." Sylvia, who was always observing Lily's expression, swore that she could tell from Lily's raised eyebrows that she really wanted to assassinate those boys. "We found the kitchen of Hogwarts. The house elves are really good at cooking. I ate several puddings and jellies." House elves? What's that? Pudding jelly is indeed delicious. I always have this for dessert. Sylvia quietly made a V sign behind Lily's back, but Lily, whose attention was successfully diverted, didn't notice Sylvia's sudden relaxation. Only some traditional and ancient wizard families adopt house elves, and they have served wizards for generations. To gain freedom, their masters need to give them a piece of clothing. However, they believe that gaining freedom is a shame. Moreover, they will punish themselves after disobeying their master's orders, and they will not stop unless their masters stop. Sylvia told Lily everything she knew, but we don't have house elves at home. There are some in the manors of my grandparents, but we are rarely there and don't know much. The library should have relevant books, and we can go and have a look when we have time. She also copied Lily's notes. Sylvia felt that she was a master planner. Lily, who was attracted by her attention, would definitely not blame her for not attending the class and only relying on notes, hee. Friday then. Lily silently put the matter of looking up the house elves into her planner. Hurry up, we still have herbology class. Thinking of the busy schedule, Sylvia complained bitterly. Except for Friday, it was full of classes. Full of classes? What? Are you serious? If they weren't still in the library, Lily almost shouted out. Fortunately, Madame Pance's intimidation was strong enough, so Lily just lowered her voice, but the shock and anger in her tone could not be concealed. Sylvia, who was busy making notes, raised her head and looked at Lily across the thick book. What's wrong? Lily pushed aside the books that were blocking their way and placed the book about house elves in her hand between the two of them. Look, house elves are a race conquered by wizards in ancient wars. Every one of them is trained as a slave from birth and must serve their masters for generations. There is no salary, no holidays. After reading the book, Lily let out a long breath and sneered, "Ha, what's that?" Snape, who was beside Lily, also pulled himself away from the world of potions and looked at the contents of the book. House elves? Why are you interested in them? Yes, that's right. Snape, that's Snape. Until now, Sylvia was still surprised that he could sit with a Gryffindor other than Lily. No matter what the other party thought, Sylvia felt a little uncomfortable. It's not that she didn't want to, but Snape's calm acceptance made her feel a little uneasy. She didn't think she could be immune to Snape's ridicule. Merlin, could Snape be possessed by something? I'm assuming if you knew what you were doing you would be looking at your textbook instead of staring at me. There is no history of magic on my face, Miss Hobbs. Oh, that's right. Sylvia immediately felt relieved. It seemed that she was not possessed by a strange creature. If she could say so, she must be the original Severus Snape. After calming down, Sylvia suddenly felt that she was sick. It would have been fine if others didn't scold her, but who would have thought that she would invite others to scold her? She patted her head and was seen by Snape. Ha, it seems you really have no brains. Tisk, damn it. Sylvia clenched her fists. She knew clearly that her fighting ability was no match for Snape. Lily, Am I really that stupid? History of magic is so difficult. You are so good at transfiguration and defense against the dark arts, history of magic will not be difficult for you. If you are not sure, I am still here. Lily put her hand on Sylvia's head and rubbed it. It feels really good. She touched it quietly again, and after being satisfied, she continued to immerse herself in learning about the history of house elves. Sylvia noticed Snape's darkened face and raised an eyebrow. Yay, the first battle between Shia and Snape was a complete victory. Snape really couldn't understand what this Hope's girl was thinking. Was she trying to get Lily's attention to provoke him? He had to say that this was a very good move, and he remembered it. Immersed in joy, Sylvia had no idea that she was in Snape's grudge notebook. Even if she knew, she wouldn't be afraid because she believed that Lily would not ignore her. Hey, Lily! She is such a good girl, beautiful, generous and smart. Quiet and happy times are always short-lived. None of the three people present expected such a peaceful atmosphere to be suddenly interrupted. Sylvia? Why are you sitting with this Slytherin? James suddenly appeared in front of Sylvia. The discrimination in the academy is really serious. Even Sylvia frowned after hearing it, not to mention Snape and Lily, who has a good relationship with Snape. James, this is a library, keep your voice down. Besides, we had a lot of fun studying together. You can't say that. Sylvia chose a gentler approach. She couldn't reject James in front of outsiders, but she also didn't want to go against her own heart and agree with James' words. Perhaps it is still possible to prevent their conflict from getting worse. There is no need to think about improving the relationship. In the era of Voldemort, we cannot expect Slytherin and Gryffindor to have a good relationship. So Sylvia chose to ignore the little incident with Snape over her favor. Snape looked at her as if she was a troll, as if he didn't expect her to say anything to defend him. Hey, what's with that look? Andric noticed Snape's look and spoke in dissatisfaction. Oh, I just didn't expect that a Gryffindor would speak for Slytherin. Snape's slightly sarcastic voice made the situation a little out of control. His words obviously angered the Gryffindors present. Hey? Including me. Lily was annoyed by the continuous quarrels. I thought you heard what Sylvia said, this is a library. She glared at everyone equally, including Snape, who smacked his lips in disapproval, which Sirius happened to catch. It seems that he doesn't agree with what you said, Evans. Please stop talking. Sylvia felt like she was about to break. She didn't want to give up on either side. It was so hard to be a balance master. After hearing what Sirius said, Lily stood between the two groups of people protecting Sylvia and Snape, and said coldly, he is my friend, I will know if he is dissatisfied with me, you don't need to remind me, Black. Oh, she is so cool, Sylvia commented on Lily for the umpteenth time, she is worthy of being the best witch in Gryffindor and even in the whole Hogwarts. If Lily knew, she would definitely blush and ask Sylvia not to be so exaggerated. Snape on the side looked like he had eaten a rag covered in vomit. Ha, standing on the same front as a Gryffindor. Apparently, the future Professor Snape divided Gryffindor into two parts, Lily and Gryffindor. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. The war is about to break out, all it needs is a fuse. Well, the fuse is gone, having been extinguished by Madame Pants. Everyone, leave the library now, immediately, immediately. No one wanted to offend Madame Pants, who was furious. Yes, ma'am, we will leave now. Several people left the library in dejection. Oh, I also want to check on E, the patroness charm. James almost said his purpose but was bumped by Sirius and suddenly changed his words. Patroness. Sylvia felt much more comfortable after leaving the library and finally being able to speak loudly. Lily, who was very interested in learning, put aside her previous unhappiness and joined the conversation. I remember that this is a high-level spell, not within the scope of the first grade. True, but isn't it cool that a first year can learn a spell like this? Andric's words aroused the approval of the group of little wizards. Children always have unlimited energy and a heart that yearns to become powerful. Everyone wants to be the most powerful and special person, especially those with talent. They just happen to be a group of talented little wizards. Okay, if you want to learn, can you take me with you? Lily asked reservedly. If she remembered correctly, she almost had a quarrel with the other party just now. Of course, I said. Sylvia thought there was no better opportunity to promote the relationship between the two parties. Andric and the others didn't care. When Snape met Lily's gaze, he blocked his words of refusal and nodded in agreement with a pale face. Very good, then we need to find a suitable place to practice, preferably with some material support. Lily decisively arranged the subsequent tasks. At this moment, both sides wisely chose to forget what had just happened. No one wants to quarrel, for now. Chapter 25. In an abandoned classroom, desks and chairs were piled up against the walls, leaving only a few desks in the middle of the classroom, covered with books. The light coming in through the window illuminated the classroom, and in the corner of the wall, a crucible was bubbling. Ignore the people who keep making noise, this is still a good place. Snape folded his arms beside the cauldron and watched the group of stupid lions jumping around coldly. He must have been crazy to be hanging out with these people. If it weren't for Lily, he would only be sitting in the Slytherin common room now instead of worrying about the cauldron being knocked over in this corner. No one knew what was going on in the boy's mind, and the boys whom he disliked so much remained unchanged as usual. Snape, aren't you going over there? Sylvia left Andric and the others and came to Snape's side. She knew that Snape would definitely not want to go there, but it was really fun to tease Snape. Looking at Snape's face as if he was trying hard to hold back, Sylvia smiled so hard that her eyes curved. Snape really felt like vomiting. Why? He really had to ask himself why he had to endure not only those stupid boys but also the bad taste of the girl in front of him. He was the only Slytherin among a bunch of Gryffindors, and it was not a good choice to have a conflict with them. But if I endure it, he will be uncomfortable, but if I don't endure it, he can't beat me. He turned his head away from these annoying things and concentrated on making his own potion, hoping that one day he could poison and silence all of these people and have some peace and quiet. Maybe I can find some time to look through the textbook and improve the plan. It is not realistic to completely mute them with poison, but it is still advisable to make them temporarily speechless. If potions don't work, spells will do. Snape, who made up his mind, felt much better, and even looked at Hops more favorably. No, I prefer making potions than playing around. He suddenly became interested in answering Sylvia, which really shocked her. Did you become stupid from brewing potions? She stared blankly at this person who was suddenly in a good mood. Tisk, he was really too talkative to talk to this person, no worse than you, Hops. Am I really stupid? This was the second time that Sylvia felt relieved after being scolded by Snape. She was really starting to doubt herself. Floating back to Andric, seeing them laughing after casting some harmless little spells on each other, Sylvia felt that the problem was not with her. Sure enough, it was Snape's fault. It couldn't be that all the Gryffindors were stupid, otherwise she would really suspect that they had been drugged. After the history of magic class in the afternoon, Lily stayed to ask Professor Binns some questions and arrived here a little later than them. When she opened the classroom door, she saw James and the others laughing and joking. She was very angry. I thought you were practicing the Patronus charm. He is still a first grader and doesn't look very serious when he is angry, but this is enough. The sudden silence made Snape feel that the air was a lot fresher. Anyway, Lily would not vent her anger on him, and he was brewing the potion seriously. Snape thought the fun was great and was motivated to research new recipes. He would start making the mute potion once this one was ready. Ah, what wonderful weather! It's terrible. Why is it going to rain heavily? We still have astronomy class. Andric complained as he looked at the overcast sky outside. I like astronomy class. Remus said with some regret. He didn't want to miss the only class a week. I also have to find the lion's heart. After completing the task assigned by the professor in the last class, she only had time to find Sirius. She had not seen the star represented by Regulus. Regulus? He's going to attend Hogwarts next year. But he should be a Slytherin. Andric thought that Regulus' personality was indeed different from theirs. That's really unfortunate. It seems you can't join us in experiencing the fun of the night tour. James was disappointed, but he still cautiously mentioned the night tour vaguely. Maybe. Sirius shrugged. He didn't want Lear to go to Slytherin, but it was not impossible for him to accept it if Lear wanted. Regulus? Who is he? Sirius's brother. Lily guessed after learning that most of the Black family members were named after constellations. Snape rarely began to look forward to joining the family. As the only Slytherin, Snape wanted to bring in another Slytherin more than anyone else. The afternoon class ended very late, and after spending a long time in the abandoned potion classroom, it was almost time to go to class. The astronomy class was with Ravenclaw, and Gryffindor left for the tower. And since Lily was not here, Snape had no intention of staying. Today's astronomy class was undoubtedly a failure. It had nothing to do with the professor, it was just the weather. This situation made every little lion feel a little dejected. Lily looked at the sky outside the glass and sighed. Her thoughts drifted away again. Since she sent a letter to Penny last time and received a reply from her, there has been no other communication. Penny said in the letter that she would forget about it and was no longer angry. Lily still felt very uncomfortable. She wanted to wait until the Christmas holiday to go back and bring some small things to express her apology to Penny in person. Christmas is coming, and I need to give many gifts. I can give gifts to others as a token of my appreciation, but I need to prepare gifts for the girls in my dormitory carefully, and I need to be more careful with Andrix. I also often study with Remus and he has helped me a lot, so I need to think about it carefully. I also need to give gifts to Potter and Black for the sake of others, not to mention Severus. Merlin. She didn't know when the witch with fiery red hair started to like calling Merlin. When she thought of the wizards calling Merlin's pants and Merlin's beard when they had problems, she deeply felt that Merlin had a hard time too. Oh, Merlin. After a brief relaxation, she began to worry about Christmas gifts again. She was going home this year, and she couldn't let Diane, Lily's owl, deliver all the gifts. Should she deliver them in advance or back to school? Should she give gifts to muggles or wizards? Hey, Lily, what are you thinking about? Sylvia glanced around and saw Lily lying on the ground, staring blankly at the sky above her head. Thinking about Petunia and her Christmas present. Sylvia caught Lily's distorted voice. She stepped over Sirius and came to Lily's side, imitating her and lying on the floor, Merlin's pants. Christmas is coming soon. Lily saw the puzzled emotion in those blue eyes that belonged to the sky. Merlin's pants are really in trouble. The eyes that seemed lifeless due to days now burst into life. Sylvia understood what Lily meant, and she laughed like Lily. Will you come to our house for Christmas? Sylvia really liked being with Lily, and she thought her parents would like this girl too. It's possible before Christmas, but I need to talk to Mom and Dad. Lily had been listening to her friends talk about their secret base and Mrs. Hope's great cooking skills, and she had been curious about it for a long time. Remember to call Penny, so we can go straight to our house after getting off the train. Sirius heard the girls' conversation. He swore he was not eavesdropping, but they were just too loud. He also began to think about how to spend his vacation. Walburga must not want to see him, and he didn't want to go back anyway, so staying in school was the best option. Sirius, do you want to come to our house? Mrs. Black definitely doesn't want to see you now, and if you go back, it may not be a good thing. Sylvia frowned and thought of Walburga Black's disgust for Gryffindor. She would not want Sirius to go back. Mom and Dad also told you to go. Andric came over at some point. He remembered what his parents wrote in the letter and said to Sirius. Perhaps for confirmation, Sirius turned his gaze to Sylvia, and the little witch nodded. Yes, they wrote in the letter that they asked us to take you back to play more often, don't worry. Hearing this, Sirius relaxed a lot, with a hint of joy in his eyes. Why are we all going to your house? Then I want Remus to come to my house. James, when have we not spent Christmas together? Well, I can't come to your house for Christmas, James. Remus said apologetically, I have to take care of my mother. She is sick. Hearing this, several people sighed with some regret, but this was only the first Christmas and there were still 6 to come, not to mention there was still plenty of time left in the summer vacation. No one forced themselves too much. Oh, was there a full moon during Christmas? Sylvia vaguely remembered Remus's identity as a werewolf. It's such a pity, because that leaves Remus, Regulus, and Snape. But Snape probably doesn't want to go to a place full of Gryffindors.